It's a goal.
E. All right. Are we running? Can you see? Can you hear?
Are we running in the 90s?
Do.
And actually, it's technically more like running in the 70s today.
True. All right, let me send link over to you.
Wahoo!
Go.
All right. Oh. Wow. I was not expecting the pink tubers to be that big. Okay, I'm into this. This is working.
Yeah. People have seen the backgrounds.
Yeah,
Bendy.
no, this is good.
Woo! Awesome. Let me find where I stream record. Okay, there we go.
All right, I'm gonna real quick just do a check and deafen Discord for a second. Make sure it's all working. So
yes.
Keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Talk a little bit. Where's the deafen button? Okay. You were a little bit quieter than me.
Oh.
But I think that's pretty normal for the two of us calling together. I'm just a loud person.
Okay. There we go. Oh, I've gone to max on my end for my mic and aux, so I'll try projecting a little bit better.
Hey, do what you gotta do. I think it'll be fine in the end.
E.
Let me send this over to the Twitter.
Twitter.
Oh, man. Wahoo!
Yahoo!
So lovely weather we're having.
Oh, absolutely. We have our fun other information that we can share with everybody. The tweets.
Ooh. Which information is that, Beth?
The T's. the receipts.
The receipts? Beth, is it already tax season?
Okay. So we'll do this. Move this over here so I don't confuse myself with seeing the YouTube playback of us talking. There we go. And then
Mouse, please. Please, no technological issues. Not into that.
Nope, not today. Ooh, okay. Playing with buttons. Huzzah!
Wahoo! Are you happy with the buttons? Do they satisfy you, Beth?
Absolutely.
Good. All right. One more thing, and then I swear I'm over to you.
All right, all good. Our momentary delay as we try and figure out how everything works.
Yeah, because again, you and I have never done this together before, and it is going to be exciting figuring it out.
Yep.
All right, I think that is good. So, where would we like to begin?
I think we shall do some introductions first. For those who are joining in, welcome. Welcome to the stream. I am Beth, and with me is.
Oh, you want me to say my own name? Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Catalyst from the beta stage, or Catalyst stage if you're here on YouTube. We're both nerds. We both love Bendy. We are both here for a time, and we are having a time. Holy cannoli!
Yep. So I guess we should probably start with some dates and some timeline stuff, because we're gonna be discussing The Cage, the
The
movie
Cage.
news, and
Oh,
other shenanigans. So um, be warned, we're spoiling Bendy books up and down, the general
mm.
games. Um,
Did we put that in the description?
yes,
Okay, good.
we do have spoilers. There will be spoilers. We'll probably say that multiple times before we get to actual spoilers, but regardless, spoilers shall be here. Spoiling.
And we're gonna have a time about it.
Yep.
Poof.
Also, one other major disclaimer: all thoughts, feelings, and opinions are our own. So take whatever we say with a grain of salt.
A colossal grain of salt.
Yeah, it is our opinions, and our opinions are our own. So yeah, take a chill, man. It'll be good.
Yep, it is a time.
Yep.
Oh man. So where would you like to start? Because there is a lot that we could talk about here.
Um, let's start with. You know what? Let's start with our most recent news that keeps popping up and down. The movie news.
Movie news.
Movie
The
news.
movie. It's happening.
It is Christmas Day. They announced that they partnered with Radar Pictures.
Yep. Radar Pictures. They've got quite the filmography, if you don't mind me saying, like, holy cow, these guys have worked on a lot of really interesting and fairly good films from what I've heard. Like, I haven't watched most of them. The new Jumanji stuff, not really my vibe. But like my sister really likes the Mr. Holland's Opus. And wow. Like wow, she won't stop raving to me about how good that is. So it's like, hey, this could be good.
Yeah. Let's see. According to their website, they have An Innocent Man, Arachnophobia, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Boys, Everybody's Fine, Fern Gully, Horseman, the new Jumanji stuff, Kazam,
Hmm.
uh, Pitch Black, Fight Evil with Evil, Revenge of the Nerds.
I feel like a lot of this is stuff that I've heard of like in the 90s.
Yeah, it does look like there's a lot of like 90s, early 2000s. Teaching Mrs. Tingle. That okay. Just that's
Wait, they
that's
did Son of the Mask? Really?
yeah,
Huh. The more you know.
yeah. Uh, okay, we got Amityville Horror, The Box. Um,
Wait, they're responsible for Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Oh. Oh,
okay,
that's interesting.
cool. So we know that they definitely have a wide variety of range.
Yeah. Oh, they've also got Zathura. Ah, I remember that being like horrifying from the promos. I have no idea what the actual movie is like, but they advertised that all the time when I was younger. It looked awful and not like quality bad, like scary, like nightmare inducing.
Yeah. So at least on the positive side, I was not aware of if they had much in the way of horror
Yeah,
in their
that,
filmography, but yay, they do.
that was a bit of a concern, I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh yeah, especially since Meatly is like it's gonna be a thriller slash horror, which okay, that's
Well, we don't really know much about the flavor of it, to be honest with you. Like, being honest, there is so little information out there about what to expect from this movie. I'm a little surprised that, well, actually no. I'm not surprised by this because this is what this team does. They like to announce things without giving us a lot of context, so it's like this slow build up to it. But honestly, I feel like they're probably still figuring out what this movie is given the way they've been tweeting about it.
oh
It's like
yeah,
it sounds like there isn't a full plan yet. There's just a lot of a plan that we don't know about, but I don't really know. I'm not an expert. I'm not going to claim to be an expert.
yeah. It does sound a lot like they've. It's very much we signed the paperworks to get produced, and
We're going to make a film, but what kind of film are we making?
yeah,
And apparently this is something they've wanted to do for a long time, which good for them. But I'm very curious like what they envision this thing looking like.
yeah. Because there's a couple of weird. Hold on, I want to look up something really quick because I feel like there has been talk of. Okay. Okay. So in 2020, Derek Haw, I'm gonna apologize in advance for butchering this. Holstad, the creator of the John Wick franchise, he stated that he had interest in making a television adaptation based on the game for Bendy and the Ink Machine, at least according to Wikipedia. So that's what I was remembering because I was like, oh yeah, I think they mentioned people wanting to have some sort of adaptation, but it was just a TV
Yeah,
series. Not
honestly, I don't know how I feel about a Bendy TV series, but I've been having a lot of conversations lately about, adapting things for film versus TV. And it's like there are some things that have been adapted, well, not adapted, but have been made as films in the past couple years where I feel like they would have worked better as an animated series or a TV series of some kind, just per the nature of they overcomplicated it. Like the world building was so vast and large and there was such a rich and deep story to tell that they didn't really tell it within the confines of a movie. I feel like it would have worked better if it were spread out. We had episodes, we got to know, you know, little things about these characters along the way, and it feels like there was a lot of missed potential. And I'm specifically talking about like a couple of Disney films like Raya and the Last Dragon and Encanto when I say that. Um, but there are others over the years that I've definitely felt that way about. So Bendy is such a big story, but also not that big a story. I'm very curious, what exactly the vision is for this thing and how they plan to adapt it and what are the important things to cover. in a Bendy movie because there's a lot to go over.
Yeah, there is a lot. I think, yeah, because following Henry as he goes through one of the loops is going to be vastly different tone and everything. Vibes versus a reimagining of the first game
Yeah,
versus say like a prequel series where we get to see the fall of the studio or even something along the lines of adaptation of Dreams Come to Life.
absolutely. I mean, actually, thinking a little bit about Dreams Come to Life for a second, can we acknowledge how ambitious it was to tackle Dreams Come to Life the way that we did? And I promise this ties into the movie. I'm getting there.
Yeah,
Um, so Dreams Come to Life, really ambitious thing right there. Because you had an author who had never written a horror book and had never written a Bendy book, coupled with a team that had never directed the writing of a book, had never had any hand in publishing a book, to my knowledge. And also wanted this book to be a tie-in with an existing piece of media that is an indie mascot horror game. And they
yeah,
have a bunch of characters in it that are from the game, but also a bunch of new characters. And it's like everybody's understanding of this world was starting to mix together. It was really interesting how many things they were juggling with it, and it was ambitious. Did it completely land? That's debatable. I think for me, it landed, but for a lot of people, it did not. And it didn't hit on the things that they valued about Bendy. And that's kind of what my concern is with this movie. Do is this movie going to hit the notes that fans are looking forward to for a Bendy movie? Or looking forward to as an expansion of the Bendy series, of the Bendy story? I don't know.
yeah. I I'm definitely in that camp too, especially since we have from the Meatly himself, and I quote, "One of my major goals with the hashtag Bendy movie is that people who know nothing about hashtag Bendy can enjoy it and fully understand it as a self-contained horror slash thriller film. But also, if you are a fan, you will get even more out of the movie because you will pick up on all the special references, moments, small character details, and Easter eggs. Smiley face. In the end, I don't want someone to not enjoy the film because they didn't play the game. A movie needs to stand on its own merit. I think our story is one that can adapt to film well in a universally appealing way if we take time to properly make it. As Joey once said, just a pencil and a dream isn't enough. You have to have heart."
Well put. I mean, it does raise a lot of questions, but I appreciate the sentiment,
Yeah, for sure.
and
I
I
think.
think that's a really. Oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no, you go first.
No, my thought was not fully formed. You
Okay.
go.
Uh, I shall go. I shall make my thoughts go. Um, yeah, I I get the sentiment. I think a lot of problems with like, especially video game adaptations, but there's also some cases of the book adaptations as well, where it's like you have that weird balance of making it for the fans and then alienating the regular Joe Schmo versus making it for the Joe Schmo and then alienating the fans.
Hmm.
And so you got to strike that balance of like who you're making this movie for, because if you make it for everybody, you're gonna make it for no one.
Yeah, that'd be the tough part. I think so. Beth, is it okay if I talk about the the FNAF movie?
Yeah, go for it.
Like I'm gonna try
Spoilers
not to
for the
spoil
FNAF
it, but
movie potentially.
yeah. Well, look. Okay, so let me give you a little anecdote here. So I have a friend. And Lily is a very good friend. And Friendly, who is also in the chat now. Hi, Fiddle. I've seen you this whole time. I love you. Friendly, hi. I see you. You're wonderful.
Hi
Um,
guys.
so I first watched the FNAF movie with Friendly and our friend Lily from the Poetic Minecart, and we had a really good time. But part of the reason I had a good time with it is because Lily was there, pausing the movie whenever there was an Easter egg and like going on this very long speech about how cool this detail was and how it tied in, and it was like this very love lettery thing. And it was just the FNAF movie is not something I would have watched on my own, partially because I am not that big of a FNAF fan. I like the glam rocks. That's about it. Like, Security Breach is fun, and that's, I like what the fans are doing with it. But, so this movie was not made for me. And I'll be honest, I wasn't all that scared by it. And I don't know if that's because we just kept stopping it or if it was because it wasn't that scary because, like, the promos revealed most of the scares, um, which was unfortunate. But it's just what I know about FNAF, I feel like it took the basic beats of it and adapted that pretty well in a way that's fresh and new, but it's definitely something that was meant for, to be something fans would be familiar with, but also introduce a whole new audience to the thing. And it's just like, but the thing about it was a love letter film. Like, you looked at all the quiet little references that Scott put in there, and it was like, okay, so this is part of the community here. I see this little thing that was a theory that people talked about a lot and poking a little fun at that. I see, oh, that animatronic that was a hoax that destroyed the internet for a couple of years. There's that thing from the book. Like, there were things that if you were paying attention, you noticed from all over the world of FNAF. But it was like, at the end of the day, it was a very interesting twist on part of the original stories, or at least early on stories of the series. I don't know. It's just, I think the best thing that Bendy as a movie could be is a love letter film. Not exactly like FNAF, um, but also I'm a little nervous about it being a love letter film because I feel like the way they would do that is telling the story of Bendy and the Ink Machine via um via a movie, and it's like, do I really want a rehash of that? But also, that's kind of the safest option.
Turns out this
And
is
I'm
just gonna be
afraid
a
of them
let's
touching
play.
anything else. Oh no, it was a let's play all along. The indie game developers heard the story of a haunted cartoon studio, and now they made a game about it. And now they're gonna get sucked in the game. Actually, that would be a really fun movie premise. I'm into that.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny, especially if we let
I mean,
Mike and the Meatly play themselves.
oh my god. Let's be real. I mean, what would you do with the Meatly though? Would he like be a puppet the whole time, or would he be like human operating a puppet? Or will we get a stand-in for him? Will we get Chris Pratt to play the Meatly?
No, we get Vin Diesel to play the Meatly, Chris Pratt to play Mike in all the mirror scenes, because you got to have a mirror scene in a horror movie.
Oh yes, you're absolutely correct. That's hilarious, man.
Uh,
I would genuinely be amused if that were the case.
yeah, I do think I do think that based on at least what I'm getting and what kind of the general vibe that I've seen with video game adaptations is usually they go for like the first quote unquote plot, and it would make sense if they wanted to do a Bendy and the Ink Machine movie, to do Bendy and the Ink Machine either as like, hey, here's the prequel for the game, but it's not actually a prequel because it doesn't actually tie into the game, but don't worry about it because you don't need the game to understand all this stuff unless you want to recreate the Chris or the Captain America. I understand that reference. But also there's, you know, in my experience, I have not seen Hollywood really latch on to the idea of loop stories very well.
Yeah,
And chapter 5 pretty much confirms that we are looping. We are having so many loops.
I mean, it's literally called the cycle. So yes, we're in a time loop.
Yep. And, I think that's what would be the biggest problem, I guess is the best word I can think of, where it's like, okay,
It's an obstacle.
how do you write this in a way that is still a love letter to the games, still respectful of the source material, but also in a way where like, hey, this is still going to make money at the end of the day.
Yeah. Honestly, I do not know how much financial success you would see from a Bendy movie. It really depends on who your fan base is for one, and second, like, how well you do your marketing, and if Bendy still has the appeal that it did in 2017. Like, we are in 2024. it is a very different world from when Bendy first released. And it's interesting because the things that appeal about the franchise in the beginning are not the same things that appeal about it now for a lot of people. I think I definitely feel you on the whole integrity thing. Like, what are we ah man, how do we make this film with some level of integrity for the rest of the series? And that's really hard because every time we branch out into a new medium of the series, it's been a challenge. Like there are people who have argued up and down and left and right about the books, and it's like the books are really getting good now, and and now we're oh gosh, and then we have that tweet from the Meatly about how the books are fun little extras, but can we please reference Abby in the games? You kind of have an important character now in the books.
Hi, hi, my name is Demetli, and I like causing problems for myself.
Ah.
And you can take that to the bank. But yeah, it's,
Ching.
I mean, yeah, it's that particular tweet is very weird in its timing because it came out right before Fade to Black came out. It came out,
Like a month before it was what?
yeah, about a month, and then it was, I'd say, a couple of weeks before, uh, well, right after the graphic novel news. And from what I saw, the discourse about the graphic novel was kind of more of a, why is the Dark Revival demon on the cover? What? In which,
There were two things about that. Like, oh gosh. There was everybody who was like, why is it the Dark Revival Ink Demon? And one, I managed to find an explanation that could work with that. But two, um, everybody was like upset that there were going to be canon character designs, and I'm like, guys, when has the canon ever stopped us from having fun with this series? Like, maybe it will change things in terms of theory crafting, but it won't change anything in regards to like you're allowed to have fun. One of the best things about the Bendy series is because we don't know what the characters look like, you can make them look however you want. That's so fun. Like, you get to draw whatever you want and call it Bendy. It's great.
oh yeah, for sure. I think this fandom and the FNAF fandom are very good at the, yes, this is the canon, but since the canon is a stupid decision, I have elected to ignore it, to quote Star
Oh
Wars.
my god. Is that Nick Fury? I don't actually know.
It's the character Samuel L. Jackson plays, yes. But yeah,
Sure.
the point is that, the fan base, at least in stuff that I've seen, like, yeah, we get the canon information, but that's kind of like optional.
Yeah. I think that's definitely part of what I want the movie to be. I want it to be optional.
Oh, it has to be optional. I will there will be there will be angry Beth sounds if it is required reading. Man, I got mm.
Yeah. I also just I'm really worried that if they go and do a recreation of the first game, that it's gonna be like everyone's gonna go, oh, it's the superior version of Batim, and therefore it's the only one we're going to acknowledge. No. Stop it.
the only
Don't change Batim.
the only way it will become superior to the game canon is if we have Henry played by The Rock and
No.
no, hear me out. Hear me out. He's played by The Rock,
Okay.
and every couple of feet there's a Chip Bendy cutout jump scare, but the cutout just keeps changing to whatever. Like it could be like Kilroy was here and stuff, and that is the only way. That is the only way I will accept it as canon is if we have silly moments like that, and The Rock is playing Henry because why not? I mean, the other option is John Cena because we don't see Henry in Batim, and you can't
Ba-ba-da-ba.
exactly. But in all seriousness, yeah, it's gonna be a fun couple of weeks when the movie comes out and people being like, "But it's canon," which you know,
Yeah.
from
Honestly, it really doesn't need to be canon. Um, I just want to enjoy it as its own separate thing. Like, Beth, have you ever seen the Sonic movie?
I have not actually.
You have not. Okay. How
But
wary do I need to be of Sonic movie spoilers with you?
I mean, I know what happens, and I've seen like bits and pieces of it, but I have
Okay.
not actually sat down, watched the full thing.
See, the Sonic movie is the last fun thing I did before the pandemic started.
Oh,
Like, no joke. It came out. I went on Sunday, the weekend it opened with my sister, because, cheaper tickets. And next thing we know, the world shuts down. So it's like that was a fun time. But I am a massive Sonic fan. I know most people know I'm into Bendy, but then you know me through voice acting and you know I'm the Sonic person. But like, I really wanted to see this film, and I did not expect anything from this film except that it was gonna have Sonic and maybe it was gonna have the vibe of the live action Melvin and the Chipmunks. Which, to be fair, the vibe of the live action Melvin and the Chipmunks is it's passable as a kids movie. It's actually okay as a kids movie. Um, Not peak cinema, but okay. The Sonic movie is a great movie. It's not a good Sonic movie. Like, this is not, or I shouldn't say that. It is not what I value about Sonic. It did things with him that I like. I think it's a good film. Like, he actually feels like he's his age. He feels like a teenager with
aw.
attitude. And it's like, it captures parts of his character that I honestly feel like a lot of the Sonic games don't focus on. And I like that. But also, it just, it feels so weirdly out of place because the only Sonic related thing in it is Sonic. Like Eggman isn't even Eggman. Eggman is just Jim Carrey. Okay? Like that's not Eggman. That's just Jim Carrey.
You know, it's true.
Like I like Jim Carrey. He does a good job, but what? Wait, who wrote this? But it's like, I think about the Sonic movie a lot in regards to the Bendy movie because it's like it's so separated from the rest of the Sonic stuff that it's like it's really hard to recognize it as a Sonic story because the flavor is so different. Now the second movie, it gets closer to what I value in the Sonic games, but it's not quite there. It does some good things with Sonic's characterization, but otherwise, what? What am I watching? Why am I watching this? I've never felt the need to go back to either one after watching them the first time. Though I will tell you, I will go back to the short that follows the second Sonic movie, but that's because Aaron Landon's in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I won't spoil what he does, but it was so good to hear his voice. Oh my god.
Oh, that's cool. I think you do bring
Yeah.
up a good point that it hadn't clicked for me yet, but I think the other issue, I think an issue that's coming up to me as I'm realizing it is an issue is that is this movie going to be meant for kids or is this movie going to be meant for the older audience? Because on the one hand, Benny deals with
Yeah.
some very dark themes. On the other hand,
Mhm.
animation and mascot horror both tend to get a younger audience. So,
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Like, not to compare it to the FNAF movie, but again, because indie mascot horror, I'm not sure who the FNAF movie was, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, it feels like it was made for FNAF fans, but like, I'm over here, like, in my mid 20s, you know, looking at this thing like, well, it's not for kids, but it certainly did dial down the horrors to a level where teenagers could probably handle it safely.
yeah.
Um, But Bendy, I don't think would do that unless they were counseled to do that. Because you notice they keep going in this direction of, we want it to be darker. And then it gets darker.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I mean, I'm kind of thinking back to when the I'm trying to remember which update it was, but when we had the occult and very heavy occult references with the ritual symbols and such, and then those got
Hmm.
removed and tiled down significantly as we got into the later chapters. So it's like they
Y
do tone it
yeah.
down enough.
Yeah, but then you have, like, references to stuff like cannibalism very briefly in Bad DR, and it's like,
Oh,
"What?"
Chef Buck, my beloved.
I know, he's your sensitive spot, Chef Buck. Yeah, no, it okay, funny little aside. Do you imagine him as being like the chef from, Total Drama Island? Or is that just me?
You know, I haven't thought about it like that. Part of me is kind of going for the chef from The Little Mermaid.
Oh, Chef Louis! Le
Yeah,
Poisson!
yeah, I could imagine Chef Louis murdering a man.
You know what? I'm into it. I'm into it. See, this is the real character we need in the Bendy movie. Chef Buck. We need him to show up. Clearly the most important character in the entire franchise.
Somebody has a thing for cannibals. Excuse me, I have a thing for cannibals that makes sense. There is no sense that is ever made for Chef Buck, for Andre. There is nothing. I will go on a rant and talk about it, but we will not do that. We will save that for later. Just know,
Yes.
my cannibalism needs to have a point. You can't just
Yeah.
have random eating people for the sake of random eating people.
Also, it's a totally missable background detail that never has any bearing on the rest of the plot.
Exactly.
So it's like, like, don't get me wrong, cannibalism is scary. It terrifies me, but in a Bendy game, it's just kind of there for the sake of being there. And it's
Yeah.
like, it does make me wonder what flavor of horror would they go for with a movie like a thriller versus a horror movie. Those are two very different things from what I've been told.
Mm.
I don't consume either genre, so I can't really speak to that. But I believe it.
I don't consume much of either anyways, but or as well, but as I understand it, as somebody who has done way too much looking into film and stuff like that, um, thriller can be kind of thriller goes into like thriller can bleed into action and
Yeah.
adventure and adrenaline, danger and stuff. And horror is, oh gosh, I'm in danger and there's a potential that I'm not going to get out of it. I think for whatever reason my mind is going to the idea of almost like the rules of romance. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a technical term, but in romances you have to have a happy ending. The couple has to when you end the book, the main couple has to get together and it's good. Whether or not that stays the same post adventure or whatever, it's very much a
Yeah.
these are the rules of the road. This is what we're expecting. Yes,
Hmm.
a sense of urgency and pumped up adrenaline for thrillers, and the horror is other. It can have it. You can have both, but one is they are not the same thing. Like a square is a rectangle,
Yeah.
and a rectangle is not a square.
Yes, quadrilaterals. Woo!
Exactly.
Um.
There was some. Yes, but back to the topic. Horror.
Yes.
What kind of horror are we gonna get? Because for me, Bendy and the Dark Revival had a lot of horror cupcakes thrown at the wall to see what sticks, and
Horror cupcakes.
yeah,
That's a great way to put it. I love that.
neat. But it's like here's all this horror and stuff of like here are these horror tropes that are mentioned and stuff, and they never really amount to anything. Like
Yeah, it's a lot of loose threads.
yeah, like I've like with the sense of well let's say Carly. Let's use Carly X as an example. Our slicer.
We love Carly, however.
She's implemented very eh. Like
She's there for the sake of a gameplay mechanic rather than for the sake of story.
yeah, I mean Jane Todd is basically Susie Light, and
I'm glad you said it because I've been thinking it this whole time.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, she is Susie Light. She has her character. She's connected to her character. She gets she gets depressed about her character not working the way that she wants to. She goes to Joey to make her character come to life, and you know,
Yeah,
huzzah!
it's the same beats, yeah.
Hmm.
And
And
here's the thing that kills me. Oh, sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was just gonna explain how how you can make that work without it just being she is spooky, scary skeleton.
Da 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 da.
Exactly. But you go first.
Well, it's like, okay, I had a hard time connecting with Jane and Carly when I first got them. And you would think Susie's my favorite. I love Susie. So why would this character that is basically the same thing but to the left not resonate with me? And it's purely because of how she was implemented. Like, it's not even just like, I think Carly's a great jump scare. She's terrifying. You never know when she's gonna show up. My friend Friendly over there, master of dodging her, but oh geez, I would be afraid to open up that door. I would not do it. um, the thing is, like, her story isn't compelling. Like, when we have Susie, okay, and Susie and Alice and all their spiel, we get a character that we know has been hurt. We see the results of her getting hurt. And it's like she has all this buildup in multiple audio logs. And then we get the horrifying reveal of Alice Angel. And she's like terrifying and twisted and awful. And she manipulates you. And there's a story there. But with Carly, there's one log. It sounds like, my OC wasn't, no one liked my OC, so I'm going to complain to the boss about it. And then Carly's there.
Huzzah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, like Susie, we have 2, 3 chapters of like her doing well, her getting, we see the character progression of, hey,
Yeah.
I'm doing my job, I'm getting paid, woohoo, I got a new opportunity, to holy cow, I've lost the plot, huzzah.
Yeah.
One way I think that they could have possibly done Jane a little bit better is like, let us have the audio log of like, hey, I got my new job here at Joey Drew Studios. I have this new character. I don't know. Joey said, hey, this is a cool character, but where's she going to be? And I was like, oh, I will try to figure this out. Then she gets laughed at by her coworkers. And then she goes to Joey, and Joey is like, well, this is a great excuse for a sacrifice. And then huzzah. Or
As one does.
alternatively, which I think probably could have helped Bat DR overall, is have like Jane and Andre be Audrey's coworkers. Like to have the implication be that Audrey was not the first person that got trapped in the cycle by Wilson. And like,
L-
yeah, but like,
Let the villains do crimes.
yes, let them do crimes and not retcon it a couple days later.
Honestly, you're not wrong. Like, don't get me wrong. Bat DR was a really interesting game in what it brought to the series, and I think my overall experience with it was pretty good. Like, I was really caught up in the thrill when it first came out. I still love watching friends play it. But when you really look at what it did with its story, we don't get a lot of characterization on anyone, and it's a little surprising given that was such a key part of the first game. Like, okay, so you give us Wally who never shows up, but we know Wally pretty well at this point. We see Sammy's descent into madness. We see Susie's desperation. We have all these characters, not even just the repeat logs, but the singular ones that were just cameos were fun. And it's like Bat DR doesn't have that. Every single audio log is a singular log character except for Nathan and Wilson, who I'm gonna be honest, their logs don't really tell us anything except the same thing about them over and over again. And that's a bit depressing
Yeah,
because it's like I want more out of these characters and it makes Nathan and Wilson seem very one note. And that's just sad.
yeah. I mean, even in the first game where we get like 2, 3 audio logs of Joey before we get our first interaction with him at the end of chapter 5,
Yeah.
um, like we get to hear him in his showman voice, we get to hear him in his quote unquote real voice, and then we kind of also have like the hey, I done fucked up, please help me, Henry.
Yup.
And like, and we get to hear a lot of everybody's takes on Joey as well. We get to hear high praise, we get to hear praise, we get to hear WTF, Joey, what's going on? And so
Yeah,
we get a lot of paintbrushes to paint the picture of these characters.
absolutely. And I
And
think
yes,
it's really
Betty's deal. What is with Betty? Ah,
what is the deal with Betty? Okay, here's the thing that's killing me about Bat DR. I don't remember most of the character names unless they're a character we met physically. And if we met them physically, there wasn't a lot of detail to go off of. We have, oh, Porter's a silly little guy. Why does he have this incredibly powerful ability? We have Heidi, who's over there, like, oh, she's a silly little gal. Oh, she has this powerful ability too. Also, she's traumatized.
so
What?
much trauma.
And then and then we have Betty, who's like Wilson's housekeeper. She's
Among other
very
things.
nice. Among us, yeah, stop it. That was the worst way they could have worded it. That added more to Wilson's character than most of his audio log.
Yeah, and
Why?
Steve was big. Yeah, we don't ever get an explanation about the what other things, which also makes Betty's comment about, asking Audrey what a mother is, because,
A
you know,
little weird.
so weird. It's like, okay, guys, we can have Wilson be one note. Can we not give him an Oedipus complex? Thank you.
Yeah. Yo, what if Betty is actually secretly a mercenary for Wilson? I mean, she does offer us a drink to help us sleep. She might be an assassin.
That's too good of an idea. You know that's never going to happen.
Well, now I want to write a fanfic about it. So curses. Like
Yeah,
it's just she's so sweet and unassuming. It's like I would believe that.
yeah, it's just yeah. Audrey's portrayal in Bad DR, like at some points makes complete and utter sense, but there's also some point of like this is basically her. We she has to get to point A to point B, and the game has to go from point A to point B. So she is, pardon all jokes that are going to come out of this, she is literally a puppet. We have to. There's there's no motivation. Like let's say, hey, if Wilson was not a complete and utter, I am clearly the bad guy in this situation and will backstab you faster than a Disney villain, like then we'd be able to believe, hey, yeah, this is why she's trusting Wilson and all of this stuff. Or heck, acknowledge the fact that Memory Joey's a little crazy and
Yeah,
or whatever. Like
he's having a time.
what a thing that I don't remember if I posted it anywhere outside of like maybe a Discord or something. But
Hmm.
a great way to tie a lot of stuff together is have an additional, and it was in conversation about Chef Buck and Andre. Huzzah! Circling
Of
back to
course
the
it was.
cannibalism.
It's always the cannibalism.
Yes, but let's say that you have that stuff. You have all this stuff happening and whatever, and you stumble across an audio log where it is Chef Buck and Joey in a conversation talking about, say, the menu for the following week. You hear the chef drink something and then start choking, sounding like he's dying. And Joey is like, hey, I know what you did to Andre, and I don't particularly appreciate it, and I don't want to have you doing this to one of my customers because, hey, I'm assuming there's going to be like Bendy Tours had like a little snack shop or whatever. Like, hey,
Oh
I don't
sure.
want you to accidentally kill people who will give me money. So I don't appreciate it, so I'm taking care of the problem. You hear
Youch.
Buck choking and making dying sounds, and then you hear Joey say, "Huh, that's not what happened last time." That way you have the horror of what the hell happened to Buck? Because is he a in creature? Is he just dead? Who knows? But then you also have the audio log, which would call into question Memory Joey, and give incentive for Audrey to probably still trust Wilson, because at least Wilson, up until he tries to shove her into a machine, has not given her any incentive. the indication that he is going to murder somebody.
Yeah. Also, just I'm sorry, a slight tangent. The way that you said Andre at one part sounded very similar to Audrey, and now you have me thinking about a really great possibility. Wilson sends somebody after Audrey, but they bring Andre because they mishear him.
You know what?
That'd be great.
It would flesh
Listen,
out the world. I mean, besides, we've got a
yeah,
bunch of lost ones who just like, oh, okay. Boss said to go pick us up a guy. Okay, this is the 10th one this week.
yeah, like honestly, stop being afraid to give your villains a body count. The books exist. Joey has a body count. Let Wilson have a body count.
Mm-hmm. Heck,
Like, oh my gosh.
you're giving Gent a body count, or the
Yeah,
insinuation that,
Jen has a body count.
which love Gent. We love Tom. We love Thomas Connor. We love
We love you.
we love Archie. We love we
We
love
love
some
everyone. Like, oh my god.
weird science up in here, but it kind of dulls the spookiness and scariness if it's like if you hand wave all the horrors to it was an evil spooky corporation. For what reason? Science.
I love Friendly down there in the chat. Audrey has a bigger body count than Wilson. Yeah!
Yeah,
What's up with that?
yeah, even if you don't attack, there is no pacifist route in Bat DR. Sorry guys.
Yeah, there, you say pacifist route. Here's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Audrey in Bat DR does not get to make any choices for herself, and that bothers me. The game opens up with, you know, we're always free to choose. And it's reiterated at the end of the game. Just because we're born of darkness doesn't mean we're not free to choose. Well, Audrey doesn't get to make any choices,
Yeah,
okay? The only choices that you have as a player are move forward or turn off the game. Like, where was our choice? We she just she punches into canisters. That's a choice. I suppose you could choose not to do that, but there's no reason not to choose that.
yeah.
You kill lost ones? What?
You sneak past the lost one. Like, yeah, there is a lot of for a game that wants to do a lot of choice and takes a lot of elements from BioShock, it manages to somehow miss the point of what the
It's
BioShock
it
theme was.
it's very linear in the way that it is. Like the choices that you get are, oh, I can choose to take on this very small, very limited side quest because there are a couple of those. Um, but like, and I can search for secrets. I guess that's a choice. But it's like Audrey as a character doesn't get to make any choices in this narrative, so it falls flat when Joey is the one telling us you have a choice. What do we have a choice about, Joey?
Yeah,
What do we have a choice about? Explain that to me.
for sure. And I think that's possibly in possibly a result of of them deciding to either yeah, sorry, let me reword that of them switching gears when in during the Dark Revival's uh development cycle. I think there was a lot of stuff that got changed, turned out, and I am ignoring the crazy meme going on in chat. Um, but yeah, it's no secret that Bendy and the Dark Revival went through some really weird development going on.
Oh, absolutely.
So we know Sammy had a bigger point in the story. We know that there was originally a Nathan Jr. You know, perhaps we were supposed to have multiple endings where like depending on Audrey's choices and what actions she chooses is how the cycle reflects that. Like if she's more pacifist and kind, even despite the horrors, the cycle starts to look a little bit better. If she's
Yeah.
Joey Drew point 2.0, she's the cycle looks worse. Yes, very, you know, standard AAA horror game or AAA game with
I
multiple
was gonna
endings.
say I love Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, you get me. But like,
Yeah, that's like, that's how the ending goes. Like the house is different depending on how much you did at the very end.
yeah. And so like yeah, it's very yes, also, what about the failed siblings? The failed ink children because with the way it's headed, it makes it sound like Joey, very still being in very character, murdered the children because they kept calling him uncle and not dad.
I mean, it's almost like, I feel like we needed more context where it's like, okay, you're trying to build a child, a perfect child, mind you, which by the way doesn't exist. Joey, you are not ready to be a parent if you think there is a such thing as a perfect child. Stop it. Get some help.
And also,
Um,
dude, why didn't you just you had an entire monologue bitching and moaning at Henry for how he left you to go have a family and you were left with your crooked empire. You are not telling me that you decided afterwards, you know what, I'm gonna go have a kid.
No, actually, this makes sense to me. That absolutely makes sense to me, and it's purely because, like, he's not happy with his crooked empire, so he's like, well, maybe Henry was on to something with this family thing. I'll try one, and then he completely misses the point.
Fair enough. But
Like, that sounds Joey Drew to me.
this is true. And I think and of course this also kind of ties into how they kind of clunkily handled Joey overall. But like all they had to do was to have a line or a couple of extra words in that log of like, hey, this child is actually stable. She can keep her form. Huzzah. Finally, after all these failures, she lives. Or something poetic, but essentially to the line of, hey,
Something grateful.
yes, grateful. Hey, the child finally, my experience finally worked. This kid can walk 2 steps away from the ink machine and not disintegrate into a pile of ink. Huzzah! I'm great. So that way, it's
Yeah,
very clear that Joey, despite deciding to play God even more, actually did something.
yeah. I think it's also like, what did they want us to get out of that whole thing? 'Cause don't get me started on vision because I will talk about vision a lot with stuff like this. But what was the vision with this particular detail of, hey, there were others before Audrey? Why is this information important enough that there is a log about it? Was this just to retcon the whole uncle thing? Like, or was this something else? Because I'm gonna be real, going into Bat DR, I had 3 predictions for who Audrey was going to be related to because it felt inevitable
Oh,
that this
yeah.
character had ties to somebody that we knew. And I was guessing either Henry's kid, um, Tom and Allison's kid, or potentially, very slim chance, Joey's kid. And she ended up being Joey's kid, and I was like, I'm really nervous about this because if she's Joey's kid, is this story going to be all about Joey? And originally, I didn't think that was the case, but yeah, it kind of was.
Yeah,
It kind of was.
it's just so weird because it's like on surface level, the story is okay. It's not great, but as soon as you
Yeah,
start doing any deeper thinking and like trying to piece together or even trying to explain to somebody what happened in Bat DR, you kind of go, oh, well, ah, because yeah, it's a
it's a time.
it's time, yes. And since we're on the topic of Joey, let's talk about him, and we can tie this back to the movie because how are they gonna handle the movie? How are they gonna handle Mr. Drew?
I don't know, and frankly, I'm terrified. I'm gonna be real. I'm at a point where it's like, if it's anybody other than Dave Rivas, I'm sorry that he's Joey. like, um, and I think that actually addresses my concern about this movie overall. We don't know if it's going to be live action or animated or a hybrid of the two. I'm guessing a hybrid, but I don't think they're going to bring back the original voice actors, and that's going to be really sad for me. Cause like I they're the characters. They are the only ones fit for the job in my mind. And I suppose it's an expansion of the franchise and it's probably not going to be the same stories, but like that's Joey. That's Alice. That's Sammy. No, there's no one else who fits the role. That's them. Don't change them, but they're going to, and I'm going to be sad about it in my little corner.
Yeah, and I fun fact, this is one edge that FNAF has over Bendy, at least in the first game sense, that there was no voice acting outside of Scott doing phone guy. So they literally could have done any voices for one and it was a free pass. Huzzah! And all
Yeah,
that jazz. But here in Bendy, it's
yeah.
like, okay, because it's like, okay, if you do the live action or the live action hybrid, then okay, there's some leeway in the sense of like, yes, the actor's not being the same. If it's animated, there's no
Oh
excuse.
yeah,
There is absolutely no excuse.
yeah. To bring another another beloved video game adaptation movie into the mix, the Mario movie. I got words. I don't think it was bad. I think it was rushed with the pacing, but I don't think it was bad. It's just why? Why did we have to have a celebrity voice cast? Like they did an okay job. Donkey Kong was a little weird. And Bowser was just like Jack Black. That's just Jack Black.
To be
Like
fair,
what?
Jack Bowser does have characterization of just being Jack Black, so
He kind of does. Like I'm with that. So like I'm okay with that, but it's like what were we doing with Peach? What were we doing with Mario? Like Luigi was good, but I have some judgment. I have a little bit of judgment. Um I want to like it. It wasn't a bad movie. It was just really, really fast paced and you got lost in it. But it's like I really didn't love the celebrity voice cast decision because it's like, why does it have to be celebrities? Are your voice actors not capable of doing an entire movie? Like I would get that on Peach's voice actor because she's also the voice of Toad and Toadette. And with the number of Toads that we had, if all of them had been voiced by the same person, that would have been heck. That voice is hard on her. Oh gosh, no, thank you. Please
yeah,
don't hurt her.
yeah.
And also, like, maybe the decision was made because we were starting to get a transition in the voice cast. Like, Mario Wonder has happened now, and it's like we've got new people, and it's like maybe we weren't ready at that point in time. I don't know. But it just maybe there's a union thing I don't know about, but I don't love that decision. And
It's
it's like
yeah,
if it's not the originals for the Bendy movie and we have it animated and there's no excuse, I will be so upset. I'm sorry, let them be on screen unless there's really some really good reason why they can't be.
yeah. And then it's a weird, weird world of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you're gonna you either have the voice actors or you have the voice actors help those actors. Like, hey, sit them down for like 15-20 minutes, give them a coaching of being like, hey, how'd you get into Alice's
Yeah.
head or whatever? Because it's like the voice actors for Bendy are very much part of the community, part of the fans. Like
Yeah.
if there were these guys want to be able to help, and hey, why not let them help, Meatly?
Like honestly, it takes me back to something that I've been thinking a lot about this week. Bendy isn't just made by two people. Bendy is made by a lot of people. There's a lot of voices involved in this. And I don't mean like literal voices in terms of the voice actors. I mean, there's lots of different voices and visions and dreams and souls and people that are behind this thing that we love. And it's like all of them are worth celebrating and the things that they bring to the table. And it's just the thing with the Bendy movie that would mean the most to me is to have those people involved in it. Have their voices be heard. Like you know, I I keep saying it to you, Beth, and I've said it a million times in this thing that I'm trying to write but haven't published. um, just like please get Adrian Kress on the script writing.
Yes.
Um, please get the voice actors who have experience in the acting business there, because like obviously Adrian's the writer for the books, but she's also an indie film actor that
And
happens to deal with horror stuff. She knows what she's doing.
she and her husband had an indie film.
Yeah, and apparently it's good.
Hmm.
I haven't seen it, but I'll have to at some point. Like, gosh. Oh, also, can we get an amen in the chat? Amen.
Huzzah.
Amen. Like, like Dave over there, really great theatrical actor, like in on stage. Like, uh, pff, Jason Charles Miller, really great musician. In addition to being a great voice actor, would love to hear what he has to say for Sammy. And how to build things with him.
Mhm.
Uh, gosh, Eric Bra has been an extra on a number of TV shows at this. Um, Aaron Landon had a thing. Oh, Aaron Landon was in the Sonic movie. What am I saying? Of course, that is his thing. Lauren over there is just like the champion of Bendy and deals with so much. And bless her. Um,
Mhm.
please consult Lauren. Lauren knows what's up. like,
If only to make
yeah.
sure that the female characters are have some semblance. Lonnie Manella, yes.
Yes,
Bring
the
her on board
queen
too.
of creature herself. Get Lonnie. Get Sean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be real. If the Ink Demon is voiced in this and it's anyone other than Sean, I will cry. Sean is the guy.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
100%. It's like we've got voices for characters. We know, like, um, and I think what might help at least a little bit, is if they are very explicit about, hey, this is an adaptation, this is a loose adaptation, this is reimagining, or something along the
Yeah,
lines to set expectations, which,
yeah,
we have issues with the boys and their expectation settings, but I digress. Like,
yeah. The hardest part about this is going to be managing expectations because just this and the cage. Honey, the fans are expecting a lot. Ugh.
oh yeah, it's, yep, there is.
Well, just to manage some expectations here, like this is the first time that these people have ever made a movie or dipped their toes into cinema, as far as I understand. I don't expect it to be perfect.
Nope.
So, yeah. The Cage is also the first time they've dipped into horror of the flavor that they are talking about. I
Which,
don't expect it to be perfect. Nobody should.
oh
Like,
yes,
we're
I
all
have
talking.
thoughts about that. Oh, so
we
many thoughts.
we all have our wants and desires about that, and I think it's perfectly valid to desire whatever the heck you want with Bendy, but I'm saying, like, we shouldn't expect too much because it is the first time, and when it's your first time doing anything, you are going to make mistakes, you are going to learn from them, you are going to have a lot that is not perfect, that is not, it may not even be good. I'm hoping it's good. I want it to be good. But like the first time you execute on something, it's going to have flaws. And that's okay. That's part of the process. And it's like, I'm going to be real with you. I love the Bendy books. I
Okay.
really really love the Bendy books. But I feel like the best one is the most recent one, and I'm not going to say why. But the ones leading up to it, it's a very clear progression of how we got from there to here. It's like you can see the things that Adrian has learned from along the way. Now she's obviously an experienced writer, and you knew she was going to do a good job with all the books.
Yep.
But there is a level of quality and improvement from book 1 all the way to the most recent. And it's like we're going to acknowledge that cuz that's powerful, man. But it's like when it comes to like Batim and Batiar, there's a clear improvement in the way that it plays, but there's still a lot that this team is learning about story writing. And I think they're still going to need some time to figure it out. They need
Oh,
to experiment a little more.
yeah, for sure. Bendy has a, at least for me, and I could be totally bit off of it, but for me, Bendy has a lot of issues with the shell. Bleh. show don't tell, or the tell not,
Mhm.
and it's just problematic or not problematic, but it's very frustrating, especially if they're going to tell a, a story in a visual form like film of like, hey, here's Bendy, because it's, you know, film's got a lot of weird stuff compared to like video game writing.
Yeah. It is a different beast. Like, just because you can write for one does not mean you can competently write for another. And I think that's really important to remember. Like, I can write scripts for voice acting related projects like audio dramas and, other such things very well at this point. I can write book things pretty well. But if you ask me to write a cartoon, I'd need some help. If you ask me to write a video game, which, I'm doing right now. It's a fan game, and I'm allowed to talk about it.
Huzzah.
I'm helping with writing for a Bendy fan, actually, and it is a challenge. It's a valuable challenge. I'm taking this on because I want to learn from it, but it's like it is a challenge nonetheless, and getting that experience under your belt is really important. But it's like, ugh, it's just there's a lot to learn in the way of Bendy's writing. I know the series is how many years old? 7? Is it about to be 7?
Came out in 2017. Yeah, about
How
7.
is this series about to be 7 years old? It doesn't feel like that. Ugh.
It's old enough for kindergarten, or actually for first, second, third
First,
grade.
yeah, no, first grade-ish. That's terrifying. I got into this when I was just about almost done with college. I feel old. Whew.
Ooh.
Listen, Bendy and the Ink Machine being steadily released was one of the few things I had to look forward to when I was working through the end of my degree. Things were rough. So it's like I fell madly in love with this story, and it's like, it was there for me when I needed it. And it's like Batyar was there for me when I needed it.
Yeah.
I'm almost terrified what's going to happen next in my life that's going to happen around the movie and around the next game. Like, oh no, what's going to go wrong? I
Well, we
really
don't.
hope that's up.
Thankfully, in regards to the movie, we don't know exactly, because all we know is that they have partnered with the company, so it could. And Meatley and
Yeah.
Mike have said multiple times, like, "Oh yeah, we want this to be great, so we're going to take our time, but we're not going to take too much time." Which, sure,
I don't expect it for 5 years.
yeah. I'm For me, I think that it kind of feels, a couple of the tweets kind of felt like little pokes at the FNAF movie, because the FNAF movie has taken 5, 6 years. But Scott Cawthon
It
has also
needed to.
Scott Cawthon has also gone on record multiple times talking about the shenanigans of trying to write a script, and
And
Frank
the number of scripts that got rejected and changed around. Yeah, no, it was a time.
Springtrap makes takes Manhattan, man. That was almost a thing that happened.
I kind of wish that'd be great.
That was one of the scripts. But yeah, I think at the very least, I think we're at least 1.5, 2 years out from the Bendy movie. At best, probably a good 2 or 3 years, maybe even 5. I do think that they're going to try and aim to have this film done and out before the Five Nights at Freddy's film, but I don't think that they're going to like try and pull an Asylum Productions and have it out within 2, 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, it's going to take a while. And honestly, like I just oof. Ooh, oof, oof. I take as long as you need. It's okay. I expect it to come out, but I don't expect it to be here for a while until it's ready.
Yes.
When it's ready, we'll talk.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm someone who doesn't like to get too hyped for things, just for the sake of my expectations are very high. And I need to lower them. Like, it's why I tell people don't give me impressions of this thing before I've seen it. I don't want your impressions. I don't want to know what you think of it. I don't want to know if you think it's good, bad, this, that, the other. If you're like, I hope you have a good time, that's fine. That's totally fine. because like, wow, you're wishing me well. I want to enjoy things, so thank you. But don't tell me you liked it because there's an expectation that I'm gonna like it, and it's like, I what if I don't?
Yeah.
Looks at Bat Dr. I actually really like Bat Dr. I know I complain about it and beef about it a lot, but like I do like it. I wouldn't have gone to the trouble of like working on characters in doll form of from it if I didn't like it.
If you
Um
didn't like it, you wouldn't be beefing about it so hard.
yeah, no, it's because I love it. That's a funny way of showing things, but you know what? Here we are. Um yeah, no, just what even?
Yeah.
What even? I love Bendy so much, but I have I have a lot of concerns about where it's going from here. And is this going to be a path that I get to follow down? Or am I going to have to put my love of Bendy to the side because it's changed so much from the things that I love about it? And I don't know.
Yeah.
Like looking at you, the cage. Looking
Yeah.
at you.
Shall we transition and segue to the cage and discussing that?
Please. What do we want to say about the cage, Beth?
Um, how
It's
do
a
I
cage.
despite all my rage, I'm cautiously optimistic for the cage.
That's a good way to put it. I like that.
I am I am very concerned, especially with all of this the talk of how mature they want it to be, how they've handled the sensitive topics in the past, and some of Mike and Meatley's comments and tweets outside of referring to the cage. Cough, cough. We are the only two people. Cough, cough.
I have
Um,
questions about that.
yeah, because I don't think we've got confirmation whether it's just those two working on the cage themselves, or they are the only two people at Joey Drew Studios.
Yeah, again, a lot of questions about that. Like, what is it? Just the two of you, or like, where's Ben? Where's Book Past? Are they not working on Bendy games anymore? Like, when you say stuff like that, it's like, okay, what's your team look like? Because like, those guys are some of the hearts and souls behind this stuff too.
Hmm.
Like, looking at you, Ben, Mister. I animated the scene that totally destroyed my heart. Thanks, Ben. I love Ben. He's
Hashtag
great.
blame Ben.
Oh my god. Let's blame Ben. Let's blame him right now. Oh my god. Sorry, Aaron. Oh man. But yeah, no, like he was responsible for the Alice Angel sequence at the end of Bat DR, and oof. Ow, my heart. Ow, my heart.
I mean, Alice
I
probably said the same thing. Let's be real.
I love you.
Love you too. And yeah, I think especially the comments about maturity and psychological horror, especially with what we've gotten so far regarding Gent information, I'm kind of my fingers are crossed and I'm like, okay, please don't be dipping very heavily into the very negative stereotypes that surround science experiments and ethical treatment and mental and
Yeah,
psychological stuff. Because, hey, we get enough horror
yeah,
that completely misses the point. There is a reason why Asylum Jam is a gay jam. Let's
yeah,
please don't be frat boys, boys.
yeah. Don't get me wrong. This takes me back to hmm. So I there's a lot in the way of language that I have needed to be cognizant of, or conscious of over the years. Um, the word psychos, that's a tough one because like that's a real condition right there. The whole I don't sing with psychos thing on the wall of Bendy and the Ink Machine. Like I remember not a lot of outcry, but there was some issue with that where it's like Golden Ink writer. How dare you call them psychos? That is not nice to the people who actually have that going on.
Yeah.
It's just like I hope that we've learned from that because that was a little uncomfortable. And I feel like it on the bright side, it brought a lot of awareness to those of us who didn't know that that was a thing. So grateful for that. But yeah, it's just
Yeah, it's
if we're if we're gonna tackle mature themes, we have to do some research. Like, really appreciate that for Fade to Black they got a sensitivity reader so that certain plot points were handled with care.
mhm,
Thank you, Adrian Kress. Thank you, Scholastic. Please, can we get a sensitivity writer on the next Bendy? Is that possible? Do people do that for games?
I'm
Can we
sure.
get people doing that for games? Yeah.
I'm sure there is. And also, it's also just a case of like, hey, mature topics are not these horrible topics and then just put in front of you. It's handling them maturely. Like, and I'm gonna have. Hopefully, I don't rant and rave about this too much, but um,
E.
the one of these secret endings that you can get in Bat DR is the insanity ending, which
Yep.
let's just say I'm not a particular fan of because it's pretty awful. You
Yeah,
essentially,
like go ahead, go ahead.
basically, for those who don't know, you collect all of the Illusion of Living books that you can find in game, and then you sit in a chair in Wilson's lab, and then you are transported, assumedly, into the real world, but you are in an insane cot. You're tied up, and Audrey can ragdoll until credits roll. And there's no point to this scene. There's no indication that this is the ending you get when you collect all of this stuff. It doesn't make sense from a like, hey, this is what's in the illusion of living because hey, thanks, Adrian. We know what's in the illusion of living.
And it's nothing that would drive you to that. Oh dear God.
It
Like,
raises,
don't get me wrong. Sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
and so it's also a case of like, hey, you know, how did Audrey get out? Is she even out? What is? There is literally no rhyme or reason outside of hey, horror games have psychological horror sometimes. Psychological horror, mental asylums. Also, this also irritates the hell out of me because I do a lot of research, a lot of historical research and stuff, and
Mhm.
you know, historical treatment involving mental illnesses is not great, but it is not as bad as horror franchises like to rely super heavily on.
Oh yeah. Like, ugh. It's just there was something for me that was really uncomfortable about watching that ending play out because, of course, as people were discovering Bat DR secrets, I was keeping up with it because I had people that I had to look out for spoilers for. Um, and it was just like that ending. Wow. I no. The only detail that might be notable about it is that if you can actually look at Audrey and see her back, she's got a number on her straitjacket. Um,
It's
and it's
414,
like,
isn't
okay,
it?
it's got 414 in it somewhere, but like, okay.
Yeah, we still don't know what that reference is outside of like that's the tally marks, but it's
Yeah,
important.
414. It keeps coming up, but like, what is the significance? Is it April 14th? Is it the number of times Henry's been through the cycle? It seems to be associated with Henry. And also Borkus, because Borkus is a thing that nobody remembers, but Borkus is there. Um,
He's vibing.
listen, look, before we had a design for Henry and we had Borkus, I was willing to go on and be like, Borkus is now nobody was saying that. Everybody's like, no, Henry's gonna be a perfect Bendy. And it was like, no, Joey's gonna be a perfect Bendy. Like, no, they're both human.
They can both be Bendy in the next game. It's a treat for us.
Honestly, okay, Beth, have I ever exposed you to my headcanon about this? I don't know.
Possibly? I don't know. Let's hear it.
So, in my mind, the parallels with the tunes and our trio of studio starters here. It goes Joey to Bendy, Henry to Boris, Abby to Alice.
Oh, yes. I remember.
And it's just like I feel like that's the parallel. Especially when you look to the way that the comics portrayed all of them. That feels right to me. So I was expecting when we were getting all this, oh, she was the fourth thing. We weren't gonna get Carly, we were gonna get like Alice, except it's really Abby, and she's gonna be in charge of the Butcher Gang because that's her art department. And I will still hold to that in fanfiction form because that's not the game canon at all. I was way off. But it's
Well,
like just, you
hopefully we'll
know,
get it. See, this is the other problem with like having the books as fun extras is that now Meatley has
yeah,
to figure out and make canon in game spell out why Henry and Joey work together. Like
yeah.
we need to know what that whole situation was because well, they're
Like
not
what did they see in each other?
were they childhood friends? Was this like a are we just supposed to assume this is like a Fleischer or Disney situation where it's like, hey, they grew up together, decided, hey, why not, and went to town? Is this supposed to be like, you know,
Yeah.
we can't assume because every time we assume, we get told no.
Yeah, and it's like, are they purposely changing it just like so that we're wrong? Or is it like, we were just that far off? Um, I have questions. But also, hi Lily, good to see you, dear.
Hello.
Um, so yeah, no, I guess my this actually transitions me to one of the things I feel like this is the time to get this information about what the Henry Joey backstory is the cage. Like you can't tell me that Joey's not going to be significant in this game in some way, shape, or form. Because the one unresolved plot thread with Joey, as of Batiar, is how the heck did he get his hands on the reel? And how did he get to Audrey in time for things to go down with the end? Like, okay. Henry, I just assumed that, Allison and Tom broke him out. Because, like, okay, I mean, I didn't think we'd have a game that be a whole adventure leading up to that point, but okay. Sure. Why not?
Hey,
Um
give them some bonding time.
Absolutely. I'm
Teleportate
into it.
Henry having the flow, or Allison having the flow, and just doing the it's a thought puzzle where it's like you have three creatures on one side of a river and supplies, but you can only take certain people back and forth because if they're together on the boat,
Yeah.
they'll eat each other.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. Oh man, that's a puzzle. Ah, if they give us that puzzle, I swear. Um
And the
so
true
like
answer
the thing
is everybody's on top of Henry as he goes through the ink.
Yeah. Well, it's like here's the thing. I don't expect the cage to expand on Allison or Tom at all because the timing would be really difficult to work out. Like the two of them go to gather some of their friends, but like how are you going to feasibly fit an entire Bendy game length adventure within the small amount of time that it takes them to get back to where Henry and Co are? Because we're assuming that they're going after Henry, but then again, they also get Steve. So, like, they at least go back for Steve.
You
Um,
know, I'm just thinking that Tom manages to convince Allison to take the scenic route. Just like, no, 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 no. This is the right way to go about it, Allison. Don't worry. Trust me. I am potentially Thomas Connor.
hmm. Well, that's the thing. Lily, here's what I'm going to say to that. Henry specifically tells us they keep the reel in the pit. So
Yeah.
like where in the pit? Where is the real? So like, it makes sense to have, to have Henry and Joey go on this adventure to retrieve the real and be like, we're gonna reset the cycle and it's gonna make things better, and then have them have to talk about their feelings.
Yes, let us have the old men have a conversation that isn't just one old man bitching and moaning to the other.
Like this is the one thing that really doesn't make sense to me about Bendy. We have so much emphasis on the fact that Henry and Joey are at the heart of this story. These two are the reason this entire story happens. But we have never seen these characters truly interact with each other on screen. Ever. We've
Yeah.
heard we've heard Henry complain about Joey once.
And
We've
it
heard
was
Joey complain about Henry a lot.
Joey, even, over the course of this entire series, we have Joey we have Joey call Buddy, Henry, him being like,
Yeah,
I'm totally over my ex. Nathan in the background being like, he's totally over his ex.
I
Like
don't believe you, Nathan.
the sassy best friend or whatever. We have,
Yeah,
it's a like drawing parallels from real life. Like it's very much clear that Joey and Henry's relationship is kind of supposed to be based off. There are elements pulled from the various relationships that Disney had with his employees.
maybe.
Maybe,
That
yeah.
feels like the vibe.
There's very much that vibe, and it's like but it's just kind of like, okay, if we don't know, if we don't spend a lot of time looking at ye olde animation history, we don't get that information. It's like we're just like we are told, we are not shown. Like, hey,
Yeah.
even in Fade to Black, we have several scenes where Joey is totally over Henry. Hashtag he's lying. This boy's got some issues.
Joey just is not over Henry. And we love that for him. But we do have a lot of questions. I don't know. Like there's something to do with this story. But what are we doing with it? Like where does it go from here? What do we have to work with? It's like again, the real reason they don't let Abby into the games is because she would grab them both by the ear and say, "You're both being stupid. Work on it.
Yeah.
Talk to each other." And then it would be over.
Dun,
Also,
dun,
Abby
dun,
would
dun.
totally kick Joey's butt.
Yeah. Roll credits.
Yeah, there would be no game if Abby showed up. This is the real reason we don't get her. Um,
It's like
but yeah,
the viral video that's been going around of the 1930s judo expedition. And now I'm going to give him a real throw. Thunk.
oh my god, please do. Gosh, I love this series, but it's so why?
Well, and it's also very strange because assuming we're gonna get a Bendy 3 after the cage, and we're just
Yeah, assuming if there's the budget.
if there's budget and everything. Yes, Friendly knows what I'm talking about. Huzzah! It relates to the 1930s judo demonstration. Turns out the guy she was
Woo!
throwing was her husband, so that makes it even funnier.
That's that's amazing. Bless them.
Bless them indeed. Um, assuming we have a Bendy 3, and assuming that a lot of the elements that we see in the cage make it over, because Meatley has said himself that this is, the cage is them being super experimental, some stuff that they would never usually try out in the regular Bendy series. Frankly, I think
I
they're throwing,
appreciate the heads up.
yep. I feel like there's a lot of we're throwing things at the wall to, and then if it doesn't work out, then we could say we tried and then move on. But anyways, like assuming we have a Bendy 3, it's kind of clear that we're going and focusing more on Ghent, and we're going to have Ghent Fallout, Ghent shenanigans.
Yeah,
We Bat DR was kind of
Gigantic.
what?
I've tried to pun this shenanigans and gent like shenanigans. I
Ghent
can't make
foolery,
this work. Go ahead.
Ghent foolery, like tomfoolery,
Gent foolery. I like that. That's great.
Ghent foolery. Um,
Ah,
I mean, Bat DR kind of gives the vibe, at least in like some story elements and stuff, that they're trying to transition Joey into being kind of an act, not a villain, not an morally gray character. To
they're making. Let's be real. He he's being transitioned into a tutorial. Like everything that he's given us is like, okay, you are the guy who is being used for world building, but also your notes at the beginning of this thing gave us tips on how to play the game. So, Joseph, you're a tutorial now. Congratulations. This is your new assigned gender. Oh my god.
so he gets wow, he doesn't even get to he doesn't get character status, he gets tutorialized. Well,
Yeah, he's like Toadsworth or something. Or no, Toadsworth doesn't give you tutorials. No, he does. He does in a Mario and Luigi. Who's a good tutorial character? Help me out here.
Toriel is the first thing that jumps in my head.
Oh my god, can we please have Joey dressed up as Toriel? That'd be great. Fan artist to your tablets. Oh my god.
So he goes from that. He goes from, our main
A
villain,
big bad.
our big bad, our overarching villain, like this, before chapter 5 and 4 came out, we were like, holy crap, we're going to see Henry have to face off against his buddy who's been either consumed by the ink demon or has become the ink demon himself. And it's going to be this cool showdown. It's going to be kind of like a, you have to fight your friend to, okay, he's an old man, he stuck us in a loop. Okay, that makes some sense, I guess. Sure, go off, Joey, why not? To, I'm your dad, boogie woogie woogie woogie. To, they're not actually real, a boogie woogie woogie, and you all make
None of it was
choices
real.
to breadstick.
God. Audrey, come on, we're going to Olive Garden.
Exactly, and like the transition to the science to Gent being the main bad guy and our main antagonist, our faceless corporation that is evil for the sake of, um
Plot.
yeah, like at least with FNAF, the transition the transition to the sci-fi didn't make much sense, but at least there was like, you could kind of pinpoint, it's like, okay, William Afton really needed to watch more 80s sci-fi films, but okay.
Yeah.
Yes, friendly, that is entirely
Us too.
us too. Yes, having
Like,
the reveal that the people in the cycle weren't actual real versions of the people who they were basically takes all the stakes and takes them outside and buries them under a pit of sand, and that's it. There is
it
no.
does beg the question. So, if they're not real, what happened to those people?
Allison and Tom are vacationing in Hawaii.
Yes. No, no, they've moved in with Wally down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, Tom was his missus the whole time.
OT3, OT3.
Listen, I actually really like the three of them as an OT3. Like, they're fun. Let's do it.
Yeah,
But anyway, no, it's like, okay, so what happened to Susie? If like when you introduce the idea of, Henry isn't Henry and Allison isn't Allison, is Tom not Tom? Is Sammy not Sammy? Is Susie not Susie? What happens?
and if Susie
This
is Susie, what?
Why is she real but not the others? Like Joey, either you're a murderer or you're not. Yeah,
Yeah, what
what
happened
happened
to
to
Buddy?
Buddy? Oh,
Buddy's a.
spoiler alert. He's just in a coma the whole time, and he thinks he's Boris, but he's not Boris. He's just dead.
I was gonna say he's hanging out. He got adopted by Allison and Tom, and they're in Florida too.
Oh my god, Buddy goes to Florida. That'd be cute.
Yeah, and like
Oh,
souls are mentioned a lot
in
throughout the
this series
series
and as a
of
whole.
being vitally important, including in the new Fade to Black. And so, like, originally that was kind of like a thought of like, okay, maybe the Meatly made his comment about the games being the main canon and everything else being fun extras was because, hey, the books brought up something that he's decided to go another direction with. But
But then it was consistent.
it's been consistent. It's like, okay, I mean, obviously the best way to go about this, um, Joey cannot be our world building icon. Like, unless
Yeah,
it's unless there's somebody else. Like, hey, why not you need to have a character that is not that is typed Joey in a way where there is no incentive for them to lie for Joey. Like, for example,
not Nathan.
have Sammy be our another person who you can get world building information, so that way you can cross reference. Because obviously Sammy would would rather throw Joey under a bus than be like, yes, my boss is totally telling the truth.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with that.
Mm?
And it's purely because of the handbook. Sammy is over there with that article. That really important article where it's like, all these people, if you're not cut out for this industry, you're just a bunch of useless sheep. It's the first time that we hear, well, not the first time. It's one of the times we hear his human self very clearly call people sheep. And it's
Ah,
really interesting. Um, but it's like he's totally covering up for Joey. Why? You're suffering down there too. What are you afraid of? I don't trust you.
true.
Unfortunately, we have a problem of there is no one in this world that works as a reliable narrator, and it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the bigger issue. Like Sammy is a good option because he's in the cycle, and you know, you can easily be like, Ev- everybody loves Sammy and whatever. But yeah, Clip
But he's also lost his mind.
lost his marbles, but at least there you can cross reference his marbles.
Yes, we're going to cross reference the marbles. This is a
Yeah,
sentence.
yeah. No, yeah, nobody's reliable for one reason or another, but we need to have like, we need to have something so we can cross reference what Joey's saying because we know Joey's a liar. He's Everybody has said he is a liar, he's a cheat, he's a sneak. Um,
So then why did we choose Memory Joey as the character to give us all this important information in Bat DR when he is the worst choice?
and he's even got a incentive to lie to Autry. Like,
Yeah, like I feel like he's not purposely trying to cuz like this Joey if he truly is if he truly isn't really Joey and he's just created to be like Joey, the manifestation of his essence if you will, then I'm willing to believe that he wants to tell the truth, but whether or not he's been given reliable information because we don't know how he was made and how he exists, that's another matter.
yeah,
Sir,
but
sir, please.
we definitely could have used some like get logs or newspaper articles. Heck, FNAF uses that to tell the story in the first game. Or vagueness of the game.
Vaguely.
There's enough of a story to
Yeah.
reference.
I mean, there. Hmm.
Oh, let me try
And
to think.
also, like,
No, go ahead.
you go ahead. Oh, okay. Like, I feel like I feel like this game would benefit from some newspapers because it's like, there isn't a lot that's factual within it, but it's interesting because we got newspapers outside of the game leading up to Batdar and in the handbook as well in regards to Batim. So we have a vague idea of what's going on. We know that there was a theme park and plans for it were canceled after things went horribly wrong. We know that the business went to Nathan after after Joey died. But like I mean, we can't even entirely trust journalism either cuz journalism only knows so much and,
Mm,
I'm assuming that these people were better researched than journalists of today, but I won't dig at that too much. um there's only so much you can research at this point in time too, like fact checking not easy. um
yeah,
yeah.
and that's
It's just
in
like,
lore, but like
yeah, that's in lore.
outside of it, it's like okay, yes, this is a fictional world and fantasy and stuff, but it's also like Mealy has said in early chapter 3 era uh Q&A that this is supposed to be an alternate reality, alternate history.
This is not our world.
It's not our world, but there's not enough information for us to kind of piece together what's different. Like, is it just, oh, this is our world, but Bendy exists? Or is this a world where, because of certain factors, these things can happen?
Yeah, like I mean, we already get the fact that we have audio logs in this series in general is kind of ridiculous because they don't exist during the time period that any of this takes place. They physically cannot exist at the time that they were meant to be recorded. Um, but that's okay. we brush that off because it works well enough for the world building that, it doesn't matter. But there are some things where it's like, huh, don't get me started on Brant being a journalist, Fiddle. I will cry. He was such a bad journalist. He was such a bad journalist. Brant, I love you dearly, but you were so bad at your job.
Eh,
You didn't even take notes.
consequence of being the main character.
Consequence of being the main character in a horror book. Like, let's be real here.
You got too silly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he
yeah,
did.
there's a there's a lot of suspension of disbelief that we have to put in for basically anything. But here in the
Yeah.
Bendy universe, there's a lot that we have to suspend, and it's also kind of like, okay, you gotta throw us a bone here immediately. Like I've mentioned in videos before talking about like the Haze Code and how like it's incredibly unlikely that the dancing demon, being a literal demon, would have made it past the 30s and 40s.
Yeah. But somehow he did.
How he did, and
Because this is not our world. This is a fictional one.
but there needs to be a little bit more world building of like, okay, this is how Joey got away with stuff. This is how it works. Like, let us
You
have
can't just be a silly little guy.
yes, we you cannot have a silly little guy in a vacuum.
Help! Help! Beth, I'm in the vacuum! Help! Ah!
Silly little Joey guy, you can't be in the vacuum. Nothing is in a vacuum.
But they are in a cycle. An
Yep.
inky cycle. Brought to you by Joey Drew Studios.
Yeah. And this entire transition to Ghent is kind of clunky anyways because it's like, okay, Joey and Ghent kind of worked together, kind of didn't. And then Joey's didn't pay him, and then Ghent's like, well, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna wait for you to kick the bucket, and then there's also the
And
silver
then we're
lady.
gonna steal your machine.
Yeah,
Because
somehow.
this makes sense. I have questions. I have questions.
Yeah, Fiddle. Yes, technically there was a lot of dark imagery in cartoons back in the day, especially in the early 1920s, early mid 30s. But then they started cracking down with the motion picture association. I can't remember the entire acronym, but it's off. It's always commonly referred to as the Hays Code. Basically, the Hays Code is the reason why in a lot of films married couples could not share a bed.
Really?
Yep, too promiscuous.
Oh my.
Hmm. And if
Censorship at its finest, folks.
oh yeah, there's some crazy stuff about it, especially in the realm of cartoons. Basically, if you had a cow that was female, she had to be wearing clothes and walking upright. She could not just be a cow.
She cannot just be a cow. Sorry, Bessie.
Alas, poor Bessie. But yeah,
We knew her well.
there's a lot of questions about Ghent, and there's a lot of questions with Audrey, and
There's just a lot of questions.
yeah, and I don't expect to get all of the answers.
Oh god, no. Where's the fun in that?
I don't. I mean, I would like enough answered so that way I can have a be like, this is the way the world works. Therefore, when these situations come up, I can be like, hey, this is how the world works. Therefore, my I can guess that these situations will have this effect.
Yeah.
Like if I have a 16, 17-year-old walking around in the streets of New York and comes across this guy who's totally sus, but also really friendly, I know that they're probably gonna die.
Yeah. It would be nice. You don't know that the death is.
But I guess that also, I guess that could this kind of transitions of like where where do we where I don't want to say what our expectations are for the future or whatever, or just what do we
Yeah.
expect, but also kind of a case of okay, let's you know what would we particularly care for regarding the next frame of news and information regarding the cage and or the movie?
Well, because you did the voice, can we get confirmation if we're gonna run into Betty? No, actually, I don't need to do that. Like, do I want to run into her into the cage? Yes. Do I think we will? No. Because that's a piece of news that we got that surprised me. They're not reusing any of the assets from Bat DR.
Oh, that yeah, that was news, and that was like
That was a choice.
it's like okay, do you guys do you want a sticker? Do you want a cookie? Because
Beth.
that's it's stupid. You're an indie studio. Even the big triple A's managed to do, they reuse, recycle.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I would love, like, I love it when we get new assets, but also, like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, like, and as far as I understand it, like this is supposed to be a side game to tie us over until we get the third game or
Yeah, so
whatever.
will you reuse assets from the side game for the for the third game, please?
Man, that would be a
Like, is
twist. Here's
well,
Bendy
like,
3, Boris, and the nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
God, I shouldn't laugh. What's the cage again, Steve? That's a great question. The cage is the next Bendy game that's coming out.
Yeah,
Um, it
it's not
is
Bendy
it is a
3.
game that, no, it's not Bendy 3, but it is a side game that takes place during Bendy and the Dark Revival, where we explore the studio as Henry, trying to escape from prison.
And there's supposed to be horror and
There is supposed to be horror.
the
Actually,
turd.
you know what I would love that's very meatly flavored? Can we get a poll from the meatly about, so who's gonna bust Henry out of the pit? I want to see what the options are.
As much as I want to say that, I think people are going to go way too deep and be like, see, this is who's going to win. This is who's going to get. So, you know,
Yes.
you're not wrong. You are not wrong. It is, there are very much vibes of the first game.
Yes. But it's not a return to form. It's odd in that way. I'm okay with it,
It's got
but it is
combat.
odd.
I've got words about that, but not as much words as many of the other words that I've had today. But I'm not
Oh my gosh, Beth.
thrilled about the idea that there's going to be combat in this horror game. Like I'm in the weird camp of like I don't need to have ways to defend myself in a horror game. Like if I'm in a
I just
horror
want to run away.
yeah, pretty much. Hey, if I am in a horror game, I know exactly what I'm signed up for. I'm a go I'm in the chuckle, I'm in danger meme.
Yep. Honestly, why have we not gotten anyone like redrawing that with Henry? I feel like it's a missed opportunity.
hmm
Like, don't get me wrong, I am excited for Cage. Not as excited as I would like to, but I am excited for the potential that it has. However, it's gotta be, you gotta handle it with care. But also, actually, Beth, I'm gonna tangent for a second. I realized something crazy that I don't think I've told most of the people that are in our chat about this, but I've told you. The cage is basically what Bat DR was promised to be. Where it's like, okay, so it's not a sequel, it's not a prequel, and it supposedly retains all the lore from the previous entry. That's what Bat DR was advertised as.
Oh yeah.
It just, yeah. The cage is Bat DR. And it makes me wonder if the cage is just scrapped content from Bat DR put into full game form. I'm not gonna lie to you,
You know, I
because
could
that's sort of the vibe I'm getting.
you know what? I could see that, mainly because Mealy has gone on record and said that Sammy Lawrence is supposed to have a big role.
Yeah, and it's like, okay. And especially because like the what's the word? The archives goes in and says like, yeah, Sammy's a master of flow. What?
Yeah, and he was supposed to have a big role, but then we decided to scrap it because we can't have two theater
Yeah.
kids going at it being the antagonists. They don't
Oh
they
my
don't say it
god.
exactly like that, but you know what I mean.
But that's the vibe you got. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. I am excited, but also like my expectations are tempered. Oh my god. Yes. Steve, that's a great way to put it. Like Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Actually, I would be tempted to like if I were to make any Bendy game comparison, I feel like Bat DR is the Smash Bros. Brawl of the Bendy series. Really ambitious.
Hmm.
Actually, no. No. DCTL is the Smash Bros. Brawl of the series. I don't know which Smash Bros. I would compare Bat DR to. I take it back. My analogy's over.
I mean,
I don't want to call it the Sonic 06 of the series. That's just mean.
though I do see what you mean with the brawl comparison because everybody was hyped
Yeah,
about it, and people they were trying to do a lot of things that
they
sort of
were.
landed and sort of didn't, and then there's also the creators making comments that don't take very well.
Oh, did they? I actually didn't see the development process of that. I wasn't on social media at that point in time.
If I remember correctly, I I think it was Sakurai. He got a little miffed about the fact that people were doing let's plays of the storyline that you can play, and was basically to the equivalent of like, hey, don't post the cutscenes because then you're not going
And
to
a
play
lot of
the
people
game.
got struck, right?
Yeah, don't play the cutscenes because that's or don't upload it because that's not fair to us who have worked on it, and you know
Oh
what
boy.
where is your incentive to buy the game if you post the
If you know what
cutscenes?
happens.
And then people are like, but actually, Sakurai, I was gonna no. They're basically,
You,
but no. Yeah, it was
yeah.
during a
No,
time
it's
where
like,
Nintendo was having a lot of fun with YouTube, and YouTubers were not having a lot of fun with Nintendo.
yeah, that was a time. Listen, Steve, people being defensive about '06. Yeah, no, you're right. Oh man. But it's like, '06 was really ambitious. Out of all the Sonic titles, it was so ambitious and it didn't quite hit the mark because there was a ton of development trouble behind it. Like, we know that Sonic Team was split between working on that for the big anniversary and working on Sonic and the Secret Rings. And it was just, they had too much plan to be able to work through it. I mean, like, you look at the way that Amy Rose plays in Sonic '06, and it's like, why does she turn invisible? Was Espio supposed to be here? Like, what happened? Um, we just don't know. And it's kind of bizarre. I just, I think about all this stuff, and it's like game development is really interesting, but also really confusing. Like, there's so much that happens in it that just does not make sense. We're trying so hard to make it make sense. We
Yeah,
want it to make pretty please.
100%.
But yeah, gosh, but back to the cage. Whew, cage. Like, I'm very curious what we're gonna see in this one. Like, we know Sammy's in it, but like, what? He's probably not gonna be our ally. Oh boy.
Is he? You know, part of me
Yeah.
kind of feels like he's gonna be the one that's gonna send us on like fetch quests because he's got a XYZ thing MacGuffin that we need
D-
in order to leave.
don't get me started. I'm going to cry, Beth. I have words.
And but I won't forgive it, but I will laugh and I will enjoy my time significantly more if he does call us a little errand boy.
I would be dead. I would be very dead. Uh, so here's the thing, right? So uh, what did Steve say?
The Cage is actually an overly elaborate marketing scheme to confirm that Nicolas Cage is playing Henry for the Bendy movie.
Stop. You're not wrong though. Like we
That would
don't know who's playing Henry, if there will even be Henry in the Bendy movie, but the way that the devs memed on Nicolas Cage leading into this thing, the announcement of the Cage. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
you know, it would be I wouldn't be completely mad. That would actually be kind of funny, especially if they go the Willy Wonderland kind of way where he doesn't actually say anything and just kind of goes through it, kicks a bunch of ass, and it's just like, yep, this is a Tuesday. You know,
Honestly, yeah.
is this
It
him
does leave me.
being in the Bendy movie or is this just his adventure in Disneyland? Who knows?
God. Listen, can you imagine? Actually, that is an avenue I hadn't considered. What if the Bendy movie is about Bendyland? I don't think it will be, but I can see it happening.
Yeah, they could. So I've kind of got like three. This is what I'm three, three-ish, and one like totally out there. Um, of like what I expect the movie is going to be. First one, the really out there is a mockumentary kind of style film about Joey Drew Studios and its collapse. Um, but people don't do mockumentaries anymore, especially big Hollywood
So,
names.
mm, isn't that what indie films do for like vampire stuff? Isn't there a vampire mockumentary?
Yes, What We Do in the Shadows.
Hi, Dave!
Oh, hi, Dave. Yes,
Dave, we really want you to play you.
yes,
Me Studios.
150%.
We would love that so much. Like there is you are Joey Drew.
Mm-hmm.
Like you slay Joey Drew.
I, yeah.
Uh,
Casting stuff, either dream castings for the Benny movie. Um,
no one. I don't change the cast we already have. That's my dream cast.
you know
That's
what?
it.
I think
That's it.
we'll compromise. What little Bendy, assuming that we get to hear Bendy have some speaking lines, either he being in like just in videos or be the stunt you.
Please.
That would be fun. If assuming Bendy is given a speaking voice and he is not just the demon, in which we're gonna have Sean be the voice, Baby Bendy, who are we gonna give that voice to?
Me. I want to be Baby Bendy. No. Um actual realistic expectation, Kellen Goff.
I could see that. Yeah.
Kellen Goff would rock it. I feel like he'd do a good job. And also like, he's already got Freddy, why not another?
Collect the mascots.
Collect the mask. Listen, listen. Oh my god. No, I would not. No, Lauren's the queen. Only Lauren. No. I'll gladly be her evil sidekick, but Lauren is the angel. Um, yeah, no, honestly, like, Ben Schwartz, the guy who voices Sonic in the Sonic movie, he's just collecting like the blue '90s characters because he's got Sonic, he's got Dewey Duck, from the Ducktales reboot in 2017, and then he's got Leonardo in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Rise series.
Oh, nice.
Like, yeah, so like he's just collecting the blue '90s guys, and it's like let Kellen collect the indie mascot horror guys. I mean, also, I take okay. So Kellen is one choice. Michael Kovac.
Oh,
Michael Kovac would do a good Bendy,
I was about to
I
say
think.
Michael Kovac was going to be my vote.
It's valid. Listen, I mean, I haven't seen everything that you've seen him in, but like he's doing a great job on Lackadaisy, right?
Yes. funny enough, I
Yes.
think Michael Kovac, who voices a psychotic arson wielding cat, would voice an arson wielding cat shaped demon.
To the surprise of no one in this room.
Nate Wants to Battle as Toon Benny would probably be pretty cool too.
Yeah, he could
Um,
be interesting. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't like consume a ton of Nate Wants to Battle content. So the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of him is the FNAF musical. So it's like, so what was the point of all this?
who would you have voice Boris?
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel would be good. The Rock would also be a good idea. Um,
Wait,
Malcolm
Jack
Ray.
Black. Who is Malcolm Ray? Help me
Mal-
out here.
Malcolm Ray. He worked on the Nostalgia Critic when the newer round of stuff happened. He voices Vadim
Oh.
in Lackadaisy.
Hmm.
Yes. That would be my vote, if only just to cause the fangirls to absolutely lose their marbles.
Yeah, no. Like I don't think that I could ever imagine Boris with a voice. Like Bendy, yes, but Boris is a hard sell. But also like, you know, maybe he would benefit from a voice.
Just a voice that just like smooth as butter. Everybody would lose their crap, and then it's like, oh, who is this voice? Who is this character that this voice belongs to? Oh, wait, what? Or
It's a
alternatively, just to give the theorists a headache and just drive them insane, have Aaron Landon voice Boris.
yes. No, you're absolutely right. You can't see me. I am waving my arms around frantically. Yes. You get it. I love it when we have multiple voice actors on characters that are not related. That's funny. It's so funny. Oh my god. I just man. Beth, I'm gonna lose it.
Immediately, if you want to be a menace to society, you will have Aaron Landon as the voice of Boris, and just leave it as that.
God. Listen, I like your silly little Russian accent, Steve. He's a good boy. Very good boy.
Alternatively, just give Boris multiple voice actors so everyone's just like, who is this? Because there's so many Borises. Oh, there's a lot of Boris.
Yes.
That'd be
Boris number 42. No, Boris 14. Boris 14. Yeah. Um oh my gosh. Wait. So this I don't know if please stop me if this is insensitive. What if we got a bunch of voices for Boris and they're all voice actors that happen to be Jewish?
that could be fun.
It would be very confusing.
I'm sorry, I just read each Boris corpse that Alice kills has a different voice. You poke him and it's like I'm sorry. He's like a little doll. You poke him and he speaks.
Oh my god. That's awful.
Dave,
You know, how about oh gosh, can we just like man, what if we did Boris like we did Cubot in the Sonic series, where it's like every game he has a different voice because his voice chip malfunctions? They never decided on a voice for Boris, so his voice is just constantly changing.
I could take it. I could take that. Either that or like Fiddles mentioned, Dave voicing Boris. Okay.
Dave would be hilarious. Listen, don't get me started. I have a friend with an AU where Joey is turned into a Boris, and it's hilarious. I'm sorry, Dave.
I love it.
Also, I'm so I that oh god, that was a say.
Next scene, he suddenly has a thick female Italian voice. See that? See that would throw everybody else for a loop. But I like there is a part of me that wants a game developer of a mascot horror series to just go and like they have the opportunity to make a movie, just go ham. Just be as silly as you want. Be a silly little goose.
Yeah. Yeah, see, if the Bendy movie had that vibe, and it were just like, we're just gonna be silly about it. Yes.
Like, yes, there's some horror. Yes, this is a coherent story. But there's like moments in the film where you're just like, wait a minute, what? Like, Beth's going to spiel for a second about like what I would like to see in the film. Like
Yes.
I would like hybrid animation in the style of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, not in the current fashion where they're the tunes that look rendered in 3D, which it's cool, but I just don't think it'll fit super well with the Bendy aesthetic. So I
Yeah.
so Who Framed Roger Rabbit's my best point of reference. But anyways,
Mhm.
as we start in the start of the film is very like it's standard colors and standard arrangement and stuff. But as we get deeper into the cycle and the spooky and the inky stuff, it starts getting that sepia tone.
Yeah. That could be.
Um, yes, and I'm very much in that camp with you, Steve, where it's like rubber hose cartoon horror. Use it to your advantage, my dude.
The
Like let us have
toon horror is terrifying.
like give us some horror involving tunes that isn't just ooh jump scare. There's spookiness. Like
Like, oh god. Okay, so you remember like ye olden days of Bendy fandom where it was like, hey, you know, drop an anvil on somebody. Oh, they actually died.
mhm.
Give me that.
Like lampshade a little bit of this and deconstruct a little bit of the toony horror. Let's have some fun with it. The fun spooky horror stuff. But visually, I'd like it to kind of like we start off very colorful, as colorful as a horror movie can be and all that. But then as it as the movie goes on, we start seeing like traces of sepia tones seep in and ink stains, and then like as we end the film, theoretically we'd like end it with this with like, hey Joey, I have silent, or hey Joey, let me see what you're showing me or whatever. It's in that full sepia tone colored scheme.
Yes.
Like either that or like because that would be my second thing. It's like, hey, this is the lead up to the events of the first game and whatever. But my third option is probably it's a more of a like, hey, modern setting. Here are a group of dumb teenagers. We go into location. Oh, we're trapped in the studio. Gotta get out. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Hi, Flack.
Whee! Oh my god. Hey, Flack.
Slapstick horror.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'd be into that. Man, I still don't know what I want for this thing. I just want it to be competent.
Yeah.
And it's just it's difficult. I'm just at a point where it's like I want it to be a good film, but it's like the way that I might go about it is I want an expansion of the series, but I don't want the movie to be required reading.
Yeah.
Um, so it's tough because I think like you could have a really cool thing where it's like a movie about walking through memories. Like I really love the whole memory thing they started doing with Bat DR, and I really love Bendy and the Ink Machine. So if we go the route of retelling that story, could we please like as a visual for Henry playing the audio logs because it's gonna be really boring to just watch Henry play an audio log and walk around. I'm gonna be real. Like, could we have it so it's like, you hit the play button and it's like, oh, he's taken back in time to the moment where it happened. And then maybe he plays it again. And he goes and he notices something and he sees another perspective of the same event from another part. Like, I don't know how they'd execute something like that. It just sounds really cool to me. I may have to do that in something just because this movie does not give me the vibe that that's what it's about. But
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. It's just if you give me some expansion, like Sammy and Susie. I don't need Samsy in the movie. It'd be nice, but I don't need it. Actually don't give me any ships in the movie. No, I don't want any ships except Henry and Linda. That's it. Maybe Tom and Allison. Otherwise, no ships. I
Let's
don't want to
flush
ship
out that
anybody.
Henry Linda ship.
Yes. Listen, just give me, actually, give me a little flashback of Henry and Linda and it's like, Henry, like, Linda brings him lunch one day because he forgot it. Like, if you give me a prequel that gives me more of the human studio members and what they're doing leading up to the events of Bendy and the Ink Machine, like, give me when Henry was still there, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
But like, because like I want to see more of these characters interacting with each other. And if you do it as a movie and it's completely separate from the rest of the games, then people don't have to incorporate it into their headcanons unless they really like it. And that would be fun.
yeah,
Like, I mean, the one thing that would make it difficult is in canon, Henry left the studio supposedly a year after it was founded, because Joey pushed him too hard. So, like, in order for Henry to interact with most of the characters in this franchise, he'd have to stay sometime into like 1935, maybe the 1940s, which can't happen and exist with the games as they are, unless there's a detail that we've been lied to about, which would
you know,
feel like a retcon even if it was there all along. So, yeah.
yeah. I mean, momentary delay.
All
Okay,
right.
I'm back.
Oh no.
Okay, I'm back. Maybe. Cool. All right. OBS is not flipped out yet, but yeah. Okay. Okay.
Is okay.
Okay. The idea is
Woo.
that instead of following Henry through Bendy and the Ink Machine, it's almost like a we follow Joey through it and almost kind of going
Oh,
through his um like his perspective of the events, like while he's also trying to hide what's going on. Like a like one of the common theories is like, okay, Joey or Henry gets the letter from Joey. Henry goes to visit Joey, and Joey does the ritual or whatever, traps him in the studio. It's like, why not play a little bit with, like, while Henry is trying to get out of said studio, Joey is trying to avoid getting caught. Because, Henry's gone for a while and it's really sus. So it's like
yeah.
you could almost parallel Joey and Henry. Like, let's say a female detective is kind of interacting with Joey, trying to be like, hey, I'm trying to get your story, I'm trying to get your statement, trying to figure out, what's going on. Oh, Benny, almost as like a parallel to the Alice situation that Henry's going with. Joey's dealing with this female character who's, getting really close at finding the information that he doesn't want found.
Hmm. Man, that would be a really interesting parallel given we have the whole Detective Sinclair thing in the books. I'd really like to see that. And frankly, it kind of gives me vibes of that Bendy game that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, look, we're allowed to talk about Silent City.
Yes.
I would love I would love to see some Silent City rap. Holy cow. Um yeah, no. I
Especially
really
since
like
it's
the
not
idea.
canceled, supposedly. Supposedly it's coming
Well,
sometime in the
yeah,
future where future events take place.
it's not canceled, but it's not confirmed to be happening. It's interesting. Um, but there's also like, okay, I had a thought. Please come back. Please come back. I'm throwing my fishing line. It'll reel you back in. Ugh, related to Silent City, but it'll come back to me. It's meant to.
Yeah, we will
Mm.
see. It will come in the future. And that's kind of
Yeah,
exciting
it'll
because,
come at the
like,
worst moment possible.
yeah, because I'm actually really excited for Secret City because the vibes that I got of it were very much. It felt like a very Roger Rabbit noir kind of story that, like, took itself
Yeah.
serious enough that it's like, okay, it's a mystery. There's gonna be some horror. It like obviously when you punch somebody, you can take their face off,
Mm-hmm.
but
Like,
it's still
it was
toony enough that
different.
it was silly.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that really struck me about Silent City with the way that was, put together is I don't know, it felt like it could be a Detective Sinclair story, which would have been nice. I don't think it was, but I was hopeful. Um, it's just like the thing about like in contrast to the cage that has, these new designs where it's like we haven't seen a ton of it, but the new art style for it has red in it. The red of Silent City didn't bother me the way that it bothers me in the which is weird. I've never thought about this before this very moment.
I think with
But
this,
what's the difference?
I think it's more of a lighting thing. I think with
Yeah.
the Secret City, the red is very purposeful. It's
Yeah.
purposefully placed. Like it's in the tie, it's in blood, it's in spatters that syndicate and indicate like, hey, this is important. Look at it, whatever. In the cage, at least
Behold,
from what?
behold.
Yes, very much
Sorry.
so. In the cage, there's a lot of the lighting that we've gotten in the teasers and stuff is very. It's gonna sound really rude, and I apologize in advance, but it feels like very every other horror game that's out there. It's
I'm
very
not gonna lie, I agree.
the lighting and like the use of red in the cage is very much like that red equals scary kind of trope that goes around for a lot of like indie horror. So it doesn't.
I'm sorry. It kind of gives me the vibes of that one Tumblr post that goes around every now and again. This is a great color theory for a hospital.
Yes, color theory. Joey Drew would appreciate it only if it was black and in his studio.
Maybe we should remake that post, but like turn the turn the thing the red paint black. No, that'd be horrible. I can't do that. The Bendy fandom would kill me. Oh god.
But yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
no, just oof.
yeah, that's kind of my vibe on why I think the colors don't completely mesh, but it's entirely possible we've been getting like, oh, they're testing out the game. Oh, this is a cool scene. Screen cap. And then continuing.
That's true.
Man, they're T-posing Sammy. That is
That was a choice.
mhm,
Like, don't get me wrong. Sammy would T-pose on you to assert dominance, at least in the fandom. But in game, really?
especially in a cage.
I'm coming out of my cage and
And
I
I'm
be doing
doing
just.
just fine. Got it. I'm excited for all the memes that we're gonna get regarding the cage and all the various cage memes.
Oh yes, I'm appreciating it. Me when I'm coming out of my cage. Like there's so much about it. I'm just again, I'm just taking bets on who's gonna bust Henry out of jail. Like that's the thing I'm most curious about, and it's probably gonna be a really boring answer. But like, mm,
Door unlocked. Turns out the entire time the door was unlocked. It just happened that it was being patrolled by keepers all the time. They do not know what doorknobs are. They do not know what a locked door is. Surprise!
so so really, the keepers just needed to go on lunch break so Henry could get out.
Pretty much. I mean,
Darn it, Richard.
I mean, Wilson says he created them. Wilson has not shown any semblance of smart planning.
Wilson plans. These things are like oil and water.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes Richard requires a snacky treat. Yes, he does.
Yee.
I don't. Could keepers even eat?
Why not?
Do they just like open up their little light on their head? Is that like a window or a scuba diving helmet, and just like they throw broccoli in there? I mean, what?
I mean, this could get into a conversation about whether or not anybody in the cycle can actually eat, or if it's just a hey, I did this when I was alive. I'm still alive, crying and sobbing into my tears.
Yeah, honestly, we were talking about this the other day, and it's just, does anybody in this studio actually need to eat? Are there health benefits to eating? Well, yes. But is that just for the sake of gameplay or is that real?
Indeed.
We don't know. It's a time. Help.
Yep. There's so many questions, so many things we need to know.
So many things we don't know. So many things we'll never.
Yep. But
So do you think the next game will have Meatly cutouts?
oh, absolutely. I can't imagine that he wouldn't. Like
Yeah.
it's the you know, but FNAF has exotic butters. Ban Ban has a pancreas. Poppy
Ugh.
Poppy has the NFT debacle. That
Oh my god, Beth!
hey, they had it. They apologized. They've moved on, but it's still a thing that acknowledged the thing. And Bendy has the meat. Just grill it. Maybe he's gonna have a hibachi grill this time in a cutout. That'd be kind of fun.
Oh my god, the Meatly, the Meatly Hibachi Grill. I mean, that's the number one customer of the Choice Meatly products. Listen, we see the meat store, but we don't see who's using it.
And the beef is people apparently. So, but then again, this the cannibalism.
Enough with the cannibalism.
Yup. Oh, yeah.
Like, at this rate, I'm surprised Audrey isn't eating people.
I mean, technically, well, she gains health benefits from banishing people.
She does, but is that eating them?
Not sure.
We could do a video on this, Beth. Is Audrey committing cannibalism? Oh no.
I mean, tech actually technically, since she herself is an ink creature. I mean,
She doesn't
technically,
eat them.
she ink, but she also gains health benefits, which are the same health benefits that she gets from eating.
You have a point. But like I was more thinking on the verge of like any of the food she consumes in this game is is any of it made of people?
Does Joey Drew Studio cannibalize? The answer may surprise you.
God. The potato chips are actually made out of flesh this whole time. That's horrifying. That is horrible to think about. I don't want to think about it. Audrey, go home. Oh my god.
Yeah, for next time. For next time. Also, yay!
Oh my god.
Thank you, friendly. We're trying to write a script. We are trying to get the gremlins in order, but Meatly keeps posting things that we need to talk about, and it's just like, dang it.
Yeah. It's like how many plans of her videos have we had that we just haven't been able to make work yet? Like, there's a lot you could talk about with food,
Yes,
but like, I'm just, I'm torn. Uh, one day we will classify the ink creatures, but not today, Satan.
not today. That one
Let's
comes at
pronounce
least
that
after.
name.
That'll have to be after the cage, after the new
The,
updated handbook.
oh god. When I actually need to double check when that comes out. Let me do that
We'll figure it out.
because I'm morbidly curious. The employee. There's the original. Oh, oh shoot, that's soon.
Oh,
That's February 6th, Beth.
oh,
Oh god.
oh boy.
Yay.
All right.
Well,
Well, that'll be our rating for the weekend.
that's not that far. Shoot, I didn't pre-order. Wait. Why is it coming out on February 6th? I just want to think about that for a second. Wait. So that's a Tuesday, for the record. But also, remind me when Bendy's anniversary is for the first game.
Coming at checking right
That's
now.
the 12th. I'm putting my bets on the 12th.
Let me check. Searching it up. Google, Google, Google. All right, February 10th.
The 10th. I was 2 days off. Okay. I should know this. I have a friend whose birthday it is that day, but I just can't commit it to memory. Okay. So why would they release this? Why would they release it 4 days before the anniversary of the next game? Or of the first game? What? That's a weird decision.
Poss. Maybe it was the closest time that they could get to.
Maybe. I don't know how publishing works.
Yeah. Alternatively,
I
it's going
mean,
to be like a little setup of like, hey, here's the 10th. Or hey, here's the book. Hey, here's some cool news that we haven't expected. The stuff on the
yeah,
10th.
countdown to the anniversary, yeah.
That's kind of cool. So
I will
that does
be
bring up the question, what are we gonna get for the what are we gonna get for the Bendy news? For
I don't know.
because if I
I'm I'm
remember,
I'm gonna let you marinate on that for a second. I will be right back.
okie doke. Because I'm gonna go grab real quick look at my thing because I know I did news on the Benderoo. Wait. Okay. Yeah, because 2021 we had the store closed down and everybody was like, "Woo, cool! It's gonna be the game." And then we didn't have the game, and then it was just some teasers. I think last year we have anything happen last year? No, that was the thing last year. 2022 was the Bendy news or the teaser. Huh. Ha 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 ha. So many confusing shenanigans. What do we expect for Bendy? Expect, I don't know. We expect the unexpected, which means we expect the unexpected is expected. Therefore, they have to do something unexpected. Then we expect it, and then so on and so forth. So much more. My brain too, friendly. There's so many brains. There's so many brains.
So many brain.
Yes, trying to figure, because last year we had, or in 2022, we had the teaser, or the store had closed down, and the teaser for the Dark Revival, in its extent, we had for 2022. I can't remember what happened for 2023.
I don't
So
think anything happened.
yeah, and then now we have 2024. So it's like, okay, what are we doing for Benny's anniversary?
Not to say that they have to do anything, but like it would be nice.
Just an answer. That you know, something to celebrate, something to be woohoo about, but we don't need
Hmm.
one teaser head Sammy with teeth. Oh yeah, vaguely remember that. People were totally normal about it.
Beth, with all due respect, we're the Bendy fans.
It's
We're
true.
not normal about anything.
It's true. But yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I think we've. Hmm.
You see, I feel like we're more likely to get some sort of announcement for something around April, just because 414.
Yeah. Maybe we'll finally get what the answer is for that date. What does it?
Watch as it's Audrey's birthday.
That would be cute.
That would be cute.
The other idea that came to my mind was that's the day when Henry left the studio.
That would work. I mean, it would make sense with it being associated so heavily with him.
Yeah. The other thought is like, oh, that's Henry and Linda's wedding date. I'm like, why would Joey care if it's the wedding date? Because I don't know. Maybe it's just me and my interpretation of Joey, but I feel like he'd be such a bridezilla to somebody else's wedding where it's like, no, you need to do it like this.
He really would.
It's like
No,
Joey,
honestly, I totally buy that.
Joey, why? Like Joey, why? This is my wedding. This is our wedding. Let me have this. It's like, no, I am most excellent in wedding planning. Joey, we don't even do a wedding short. Well, that's because I can't convince Sammy to do it. But just you wait, I'm about to get him to do it. I had those pictures of that party last year. No,
Ah, jeez.
that actually would be funny if we just had if the Bendy movie was just basically the Office movie, but it was just the Bendy cast.
You know, that has potential. Stop giving me ideas.
Never.
Well, guess it's my turn to perish.
Yep. Uh, Falling.
Oh, calling Joey before he died. Oh, did Joey? How recently did Joey die as a Bat DR?
Hold on. I have the notes somewhere for a fanfic I was writing. 1 second. All right.
Of course you did.
Joey died in 71. Bat DR takes place in 73. Yeah.
Hmm.
So still technically a fresh, but I don't think we got a technical
A date.
dates.
It was a Tuesday. It's always a Tuesday.
You never know with Joey.
You know, they are occasionally thoughtful about dates with this series. Like, one of the things I absolutely adore is the fact that we have, like, the day that Audrey enters the studio is the day after Father's Day.
Yeah,
Like, that's hilarious. Well, no, it's not hilarious. That's amazing.
it's meaningful. It's symbolic, thematic even.
Hmm.
So, I don't think Nathan's. You know what? I'm gonna check the. Let's see. Nathan Arch, his audio log. I don't think that we have a date for his audio log outside of.
Nope, I don't think we do either. We don't have dates on any of Nathan's audio logs.
Okay, I'm gonna. I just let me have his stupid tapes. His
How bad?
legacy. I don't. Let me have a stupid audio log. That's all I want. Oh, all right. List of audio logs. Teasers. End of an era. There we go. Here we go. This is what we're going to say. All right. Transcript. Okay.
So,
Here we go. As it said, I just received the call. Joey Drew is dead. What a quiet end to an extraordinary life. Last I heard, he was staying in some cramped apartment downtown. You could practically hear the rats through the telephone when he called me last April. In spite of that, old Joey sounded quite happy when last we spoke. More like a excited, hopeful young man I knew once upon a time. Ah, well, farewell, my friend. What will become of your creations now?
excellent question.
The answer is for
And then he took matters into his own hands.
the day he died. I could. Okay. I, I that might actually that I could see reason for. I could see that being a possibility.
Hmm.
Um, I guess the problem is like, okay, how? Because 414 is tied to Henry pretty heavily too.
Hmm.
So it's kind of
Wait,
like,
here's a thought.
yeah.
Beth, do you remember when Joey and Henry met? Do we know what time of year that was?
I don't.
Because we know that they met in an art show. And
Yeah,
we know that Abby invited Joey to the art show. But, like, I wonder, could they have met in April?
it was about
If what if 4
Okay,
hmm,
1928. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go pull up a calendar of that year. Uh,
okay.
okay, so 1928, 1924. We're gonna okay the calendars I need. Yep. Okay. Okay. Here we go. So pulling up this. I don't need this. Okay. So we're gonna do 1928. Okay, the 14th on in 1928 was a Saturday.
A Saturday.
1929, it was a Sunday.
Hmm.
Okay, either 1920 or 1920. Well, the stock market crashed in 1929 in October. So just for prosperity. No, I don't have. Okay. Ooh, oh, here we go. Let me pull up the 30s really quick. Well, this. Oh,
Oh.
well, also 1929 is when the studio was founded. So never mind. 1929 would be a Sunday. 1928 would be a Saturday. Both technical dates where art shows would happen. Partying and all that jazz.
Hmm.
So that could it I am kind of in the camp of yeah, that is when Joey and Henry met because that would connect them both. It would heavily tie to Henry and it's significant life event for technically both of them. maybe it could be both. Maybe it's the day they met and the day Henry was like, "Yo, Joey, I'll quit. Peace out."
That would be amazing. Like, truth or stranger than fiction sort of thing. Wow.
Or the birth of the studio itself. I could see that, but I mean, it would be kind of funny if it would be a truth is stranger than fiction of like that's when they met, that's when the studio was made, and that's when Henry left. It's such the weirdest timing. But as somebody who has had shenanigans happen on Valentine's Day that were not relationship related, I believe it.
Me too. No, I actually vibe with this quite a bit. Like, I like a lot. Well, if it doesn't happen, fan fiction.
Huzzah!
Gosh. Beth, we're gonna sound so crazy when we get to putting a timeline together.
You know, I'm excited for that. That'd be we can have some fun. We are allowed to have fun with this
Well,
silly little mascot horror.
I agree with this. I think we should have fun as a treat.
Yeah.
And I am terrified. Terrified of what the new handbook is gonna tell us and what we're gonna have to change about our understanding of this world. Oh god.
You know, oh, we'll figure it out.
We will, we always do.
Yep. I think we probably should wrap up. Any parting words
Yeah.
before we call it quits? Because we have been going for about 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh god. I mean, listen. I will yap for hours about this sort of stuff, but man, no, it is time to log off. But nah, so all of you out there, stay hydrated, don't drink ink, and I love you very much.
Yeah. Thank you guys
Is
for.
there anything that oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go first.
Okay, well, is there anything that we need to plug? Anything coming up that we should make the good people aware of? Or
Uh,
are we good?
if there's anything you want to plug, go plug away.
Nope. I'm good actually. Wow.
Oh, okay. Um,
Yep. But
yeah.
thank you for coming, guys.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Maybe we'll do this more often. Maybe we'll. Who knows? We'll see where the winds take us. Have a good day, guys.
Whee!
And as Porter says, wee. Oh, he
Whee!
says there is a
Oh, you're right. Oh my gosh. Yes.
the love stream. There will be a love
Thank you,
stream
Dave.
on Erin's, the voice of Audrey's live stream on her YouTube channel on the 28th from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific Standard Time.
Yes. That's Aaron Lane on youtube.com.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure everybody in this audience is aware of that, or at least everybody that I see commenting. But oh my gosh, I cannot wait for the love stream. That is going to be so much fun. Ah,
Yeah.
can't wait to see you all there.
Yeah. All right. So with that, have a good rest of your day, guys.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.